A deep echo filled the dark cavern, hinting at ancient secrets beyond the glowing double doors. It was a foreboding entrance to something unknown, drawing a brave soul onward. The imposing stone doors emanated a faint blue light, their intricate carvings hinting at forgotten power, as the air pulsed with a strange energy, beckoning deeper into the unknown. A warrior in blue armor was violently thrown back by an unseen force, crashing through stone and creating a powerful impact. The attack sent debris flying, shaking the ancient structure. The armored figure launched a fierce counterattack. In the foreground, Gilioshan looked on, his expression intense as the battle raged. Gilioshan stared, wide-eyed, muttering, "This is insane. How is this even possible?" as chaos swirled around him, his mind reeling from the impossible situation. Gilioshan found himself in a desperate struggle, entangled with a massive dragon, thinking first I run into a dragon of all things. He clung on, trying to survive the encounter. Gilioshan reflected on his predicament, realizing that after the dragon, he would then fall off a cliff, his journey taking an unexpected and dangerous turn. Amidst the chaos, Gilioshan and another warrior battled a colossal, segmented creature, dodging its massive attacks in a desperate struggle for survival. Gilioshan was now riding the dragon, thinking, okay, this part is new though. Then, a monster squid attacked, and he realized he'd end up riding said dragon, a truly unbelievable turn of events. Gilioshan lay defeated on the ground, overwhelmed by the monstrous humanoid creature that loomed over him, its power clearly superior in the grim encounter. Gilioshan looked up, his face etched with concern, at the terrifying, snarling, monstrous humanoid creature standing menacingly above him. Gilioshan thought just a little while ago I was just your average 30-year-old bum, reflecting on his rapid descent into this desperate fight with the monstrous humanoid and his allies. Gilioshan pondered his grim situation, wondering how did an ordinary 30-year-old bum end up in a mess like this, his life now unrecognizable. The young man in armor pleaded, "Your Highness, please come to your senses, Your Highness," while the woman, with red hair holding a staff, asked, "Gilioshan, are you all right?" Gilioshan stood alone in a snow-covered forest, a glowing purple rectangular object floating before him, drawing his gaze into its mysterious depths. A radiant card appeared before Gilioshan, displaying a regal figure in red robes, emanating an aura of immense power. It felt like a significant magical artifact, promising extraordinary abilities. Gilioshan looked intense, his eyes glowing with a fiery red hue, revealing a new resolve or awakening power within him. Empty soda cans and discarded pencils littered the desk, a silent testament to long hours spent working late, hinting at a life consumed by routine tasks. From behind, a young man with dark hair hunched over a glowing laptop, his hand on the mouse, immersed in the digital world, likely oblivious to anything else. The young man with dark hair looked closer at the screen, a puzzled expression on his face as he murmured, "The hell is this?" A strange image capturing his attention. His hand rested on the mouse as the young man with dark hair thought, "Looks like there's someone else having a rough time just like me," then pondered, "Wait, when did I start writing this?" A curious realization. Leaning back, the young man with dark hair sighed. A second playthrough of life. "It's not a game," he mused, adding, "I wish something like that actually existed." The young man with dark hair sat comfortably, headphones in, looking relaxed and perhaps lost in thought, enjoying a moment of quiet in his own world. He considered the concept again a second playthrough of life, huh? The idea lingered in his mind as a comforting escape from his reality. His thoughts turned to his past, realizing my life can be summed up in 3 lines, a concise summary of his seemingly unremarkable journey so far. He recalled his life. "I grew up in an orphanage without the care everyone else had. After leaving, I worked in a factory, and now at 30, I'm working part-time while studying for the civil service exam, a life of continuous struggle." Gazing at his laptop, the young man knew if there's one single joy in a life like this, it's this game, finding solace and purpose within its virtual world. He was immersed in God-forsaken world, aka GFW, confidently stating, "I've played it for over a decade, so I'm not just a veteran. I'm a fossil who's mastered every strategy there is." The young man with dark hair reflected on his life. "After 30 years, everything I own is in this one-room apartment," a stark realization of his limited possessions. The scene of empty cans mirrored his thoughts. If only life had a strategy guide. Would a life like mine have turned out differently? He wondered, seeking guidance for his existence. The young man saw a strange message on his screen and thought about how bored the sender must be, but decided to play along since he had nothing better to do. His fingers began to rapidly tap on the keyboard, the rhythmic sound of typing filling the quiet room as he engaged with the mysterious message. A global message from Jampong Tangerine declared a life's second playthrough with excitement, while a whisper from God Dog questioned if they were sure, as it wouldn't be easy. The young man grew annoyed by the seriousness of the shit poster, considering it lame, and thought about ignoring him. But after a brief pause, he firmly pressed a key. He looked at the screen with utter disappointment, wondering if that was all, with no fun or thrill, questioning if all the prior buildup was just for such a mundane outcome. Suddenly, a voice seemed to echo from the screen, directly questioning his thought of bullshit, catching the young man off guard with a look of surprise. The young man was utterly shocked by the response, muttering what, as the voice from the screen ominously challenged him to survive this time. As a bright light enveloped him, the young man's body began to shimmer and distort, slowly fading away from his physical reality with a crackle. The laptop remained on the desk, its glowing screen casting a soft light, but the attached mouse dangled freely, swinging gently as if recently used. Gilyoshan, now disoriented and unable to see, wondered about his strange situation and what was covering his face, feeling utterly confused. Gilyoshan struggled, realizing he was gagged and his hands were tied, pondering if he had been kidnapped, when it happened, why him, and if his organs were the target. Gilyoshan lay on the ground, bound and helpless, as several hooded figures stood around him in a desolate, ruined area. A cloaked figure loomed over Gilyoshan, revealing his identity as Gilyoshan Elo de Valth, the third prince of the Valth magic empire. Gilyoshan's vision was blurry, indicating he was still regaining consciousness, or his eyes were watering from being gagged and bound. One of the hooded figures commanded the others to remove the gag from Gilyoshan's mouth as they stood around him. A hooded figure roughly forced Gilyoshan to raise his head, demanding that he look him directly in the eye. Gilyoshan looked surprised, a familiar line of dialogue triggering a sudden recognition within him, making him pause in confusion. The hooded figure confirmed, stating with certainty that this was indeed the face they sought, looking directly at Gilyoshan. Gilyoshan's eyes widened in shock, realizing this was an exact scene from his game GFW, specifically the Third Prince assassination event. He felt like he was dreaming, yet the sensation was strangely familiar, making him question if he had experienced something similar before. The hooded figure warned Gilyoshan, the Third Prince, against any foolish actions, while Gilyoshan wondered why he was being called the Third Prince, and if this was a GFW fan prank. One hooded figure declared that Gilyoshan would be executed today in the name of the Republic, and his head would be sent to his father. Gilyoshan, shocked, tried to protest, explaining there had been a misunderstanding, but a blade was swiftly drawn before he could finish. The hooded figure swung the sword at Gilyoshan, sternly reminding him that he had been warned not to try anything funny. A few drops of blood trickled down Gilyoshan's face, and he gasped in horror at the sight, realizing the attack was real. The hooded figure coldly remarked that despite being a degenerate, Gilyoshan possessed imperial blood, and his head would certainly not be a laughing matter for the Emperor. Gilyoshan's face was etched with horror as he fully grasped that this was no prank. It was real, and he was the useless degenerate Gilyoshan from the game. A character profile appeared, identifying him as Gilyoshan Elo de Valth, the third prince of Valth magic empire, known as the Pig Prince, who was disinherited for laziness and bizarre behavior. Gilyoshan's face contorted in despair as he thought of the character's fate, realizing he was merely a throwaway NPC, a minor character in the game's story. Gilyoshan's face contorted in horror as he realized his true identity as an NPC, meaning someone else was the player, and his life was about to end here. Gilyoshan tried to speak through his gag, and the cloaked figure asked for his last words as the third prince, adding to his confusion. A hooded figure holding a sharp blade stood menacingly close to Gilyoshan, who looked terrified at the immediate threat. Gilyoshan frantically tried to explain that he did not know what was happening, emphatically denying that he was the third prince. A hooded figure retorted, claiming Gilyoshan's crimson eyes confirmed his imperial blood, and his body proved he was indeed the third prince. Perched precariously on a cliff edge, Gilyoshan was told to stop his games, as escape was impossible with the hooded figure blocking his path. Gilyoshan thought this was insane and completely messed up, realizing he was merely a random extra character, not even the main character, in this dire situation. Gilyoshan questioned if he was reincarnated only to be beheaded, as the hooded figure raised a sword, assuring him it was nothing personal and would be painless. Gilyoshan desperately thought he could not die like this, feeling an urgent need to accomplish something important, though he couldn't quite recall what. But Gilyoshan, still disoriented, found himself floating in a monochrome space, struggling to remember what he was supposed to accomplish. Gilyoshan was surprised that he felt no pain, then realized everything around him was inexplicably frozen in time. Gilyoshan was utterly bewildered, wondering what in the world was happening as the unusual pause continued. A sword hung suspended mid-air inches from Gilioshan's face, leaving him utterly stunned and breathless. A glowing blue message box materialized, announcing that the game would now officially begin. Another message appeared, declaring that the player would now assume the role of the character Gilioshan Elodevoth. Gilioshan's face lit up with a smile, realizing he was alive, and, as the player, he could definitely survive this perilous situation. From a high cliff overlooking a grand city, Gilioshan, as his past player avatar, confidently declared himself a hardcore veteran of this very game. A close-up showed Gilioshan's confident smirk, a clear sign of his renewed determination. A new blue notification confirmed that a starting bonus was being granted to the player. 2 more message boxes appeared, indicating that 3 stat points and 2 skill points had been awarded to the player. A quest to escape the crisis was issued, and Gilioshan noted the stat points for abilities and skill points for new techniques. Gilioshan mused that the quest was most likely the straightforward objective to simply survive his current predicament. With his hands still bound, Gilioshan realized time was paused, allowing him only the essential movements needed to progress. Just like in the game, he was given a moment to choose, realizing he would soon return to his original position. The points and quest could wait. A large blue interface materialized, and Gilioshan knew his survival hinged entirely on whatever choice he made within it. A new feature, acting as a class, offered bonus stats and unique skills through 3 random cards from a deck of 1024. He could absorb only 1. Gilioshan understood card choice was skill-based, but the deal was pure luck. The next shuffle was far off, making this one critical for his very survival. Looking up with determination, Gilioshan declared his readiness to face this game of both luck and skill. A sudden surge of powerful blue energy erupted, signaling the start of the card selection. Gilioshan faced the 3 glowing cards, knowing that as soon as he chose one, the frozen time would immediately resume. Gilioshan felt a bone-chilling dread, realizing his head could be sliced like tofu the instant time unfroze, depending entirely on his card choice. Gilioshan took a deep breath, deciding to face his fate head-on since the game had dealt him these specific cards, resolving to see what opportunities lay before him. A sound indicated Gilioshan's immense curiosity. Even in this perilous situation, he found he simply couldn't help but be eager to discover his options. Gilioshan, with a determined smirk, mentally challenged the game to reveal if it offered him a chance at survival or a direct path to demise, a true test of his luck. Gilioshan recalled a crucial game secret, knowing that, in this harsh world, one of the 3 cards would always be an easy-to-use close combat type, a common boon for new players. Gilioshan also knew that, statistically, the 3 random cards dealt had an average grade of B, offering a decent chance for a solid starting class. Gilioshan hoped for a practical outcome, wishing for a solid rank tank card to simplify his predicament, reasoning that his request wasn't overly ambitious or unreasonable. With a deliberate tap, Gilioshan reached out his bound hand, selecting one of the glowing cards, ready to reveal his initial class and skills. The chosen card materialized, revealing an F-rank slave gladiator, a low-tier class that felt like an immediate setback to his grand survival plans. Gilioshan stared at the revealed card in disbelief, utterly confused by the unexpected appearance of such a low-ranked class, questioning the fairness of his luck. With a frustrated tap, Gilioshan moved to reveal another card, incredulously asking if the game was deliberately mocking his desperate situation with terrible options. The second card revealed a D-rank washed-up theater actor, further deepening Gilioshan's dismay with the poor quality of choices presented to him. Gilioshan looked down at the 2 revealed cards, an F-rank and a D-rank, while the hooded figure stood nearby, still holding the sword menacingly close. Time still paused. Gilioshan's face contorted in frustration, questioning the game's mechanics, as his knowledge indicated the average card grade for a first pull should have been B, not these low ranks. Gilioshan stared in shock at the remaining unrevealed card, a sense of despair creeping in as the first 2 pulls were so incredibly disappointing. Gilioshan's eyes widened with hope as he anticipated the final card, eagerly wondering if it could possibly be an S rank, praying for a truly powerful outcome. The final card shimmered intensely with blue energy, emanating a powerful aura that hinted at a high-ranking or rare class, building anticipation for its reveal. With a burst of vibrant, multicolored light, the final card exploded open, indicating the revealing of an incredibly powerful and unexpected class. Gilioshan watched as the vibrant energy burst from the third card, still tied and vulnerable, while the unmoving hooded figure and its sword remained frozen beside him. Gilioshan's eyes, wide with disbelief and astonishment, reflected the intense, colorful light from the revealed card, hinting at an extraordinary discovery. Gilioshan exclaimed in utter shock, seeing the card reveal a, quote, transcendent rank, an unbelievably rare and powerful class that defied all his expectations. The newly revealed Transcendent card, glowing with vibrant colors, floated into Gilioshan's bound hands, shimmering as he held the immense power. Gilioshan's inner thoughts screamed in disbelief that the Transcendent card was specifically an Archmage, an incredibly potent magical class beyond his wildest dreams. The card fully revealed itself as an X-rank Archmage, a truly legendary class, leaving Gilioshan in utter awe and shock at this wholly freaking powerful pull. Gilioshan's eyes stared wide open, a mixture of shock and incomprehension plastered across his face, processing the immense power he had just been granted. Gilioshan looked from the powerful Archmage card to the two lesser cards, still glowing softly, bewildered by the massive discrepancy in their ranks. Gilioshan understood that the Archmage card represented the absolute pinnacle of range damage in the game, an undisputed master of destructive power. Gilioshan pondered in confusion, questioning why such an exceptionally powerful Archmage card would appear as a starting bonus, defying the usual game logic. Gilioshan considered the possibility that his extraordinary luck stemmed from not being a player character but an NPC, a theory he found surprisingly plausible. Gilioshan realized the body he currently inhabited was that of an NPC named Gilioshan Volth, a non-player character within the game's universe. Gilioshan recalled that Gilioshan Volth, though a useless prince, possessed rich lore and royal blood, originating from the Volth family, renowned for generations of incredibly talented mages. Gilioshan's internal monologue shifted, acknowledging the unusual circumstances, and he thought that it was time to finally make his selection among the cards, despite the bizarre turn of events. Gilioshan looked at the two low-rank cards he had already revealed, while the powerful Archmage card floated above, shimmering with purple energy, under the gaze of the menacing, hooded figure. Gilioshan internally realized the powerful Archmage card was not the immediate solution, noting that while it offered stats, gear, and episodes, he could only use its skills right away, including a dimensional field control defense move. The Archmage's dimensional field control skill, a burst of fiery energy, only offered protection against magic or weapons specifically imbued with magical properties, limiting its immediate use. Gilioshan pondered the critical drawback. Every mage skill, including the Archmage's, demanded valuable time to channel mana from the heart's mana circle before it could even be activated for use. Still, Gilioshan thought with a determined expression, despite the limitations, possessing an X-rank Archmage card was an incredible advantage, even if it didn't guarantee an easy survival. Gilioshan, a veteran, knew that in a real life-or-death situation, picking the Archmage would have meant instant demise, unlike a game where death would simply lead to respawning. Gilioshan couldn't fathom who dragged him into this world, not only forcing him into a side character's body, but also putting him in such an immediate and dire predicament. Gilioshan's eyes burned with frustration as he realized he was about to be decapitated right after pulling an Archmage card, feeling as if the game was deliberately mocking his situation. Gilioshan's face was etched with sweat and resolve as he decided that, despite the absurd circumstances, he would push forward and focus everything on simply trying to survive this ordeal. With a determined glint in his eye, Gilioshan, still bound, pointed upwards and inwardly declared that he would survive no matter what, as a sound effect confirmed his selection of the glowing card. A blue notification box appeared, confirming the selection of the F-rank Fate Slave Gladiator, and prompting Gilioshan to confirm if he was truly sure of his choice. Gilioshan smirked wryly, internally expressing disbelief at choosing bottom-tier trash over a transcendent card, yet finding the absurdity of the situation wild and loving the challenge. Gilioshan now kneeled on the ground, his bonds seemingly released from the sword, as the previously revealed cards lay before him, no longer floating, sparkling with remnants of light. The hooded figure's hand, holding the sword now sparkling with disappearing light, delivered a cryptic farewell, promising to meet the Grand Mage again in the future. Gilioshan's wide red eyes reflected a mixture of shock and dawning comprehension, processing the cryptic words and the sudden shift in his immediate peril. A final blue notification appeared with a BBIK sound, informing Gilioshan that the F-rank Slave Gladiator card was auto-equipped, granting 3 unique skills, and gameplay would resume in 5 seconds, with a casual good luck. Gilioshan glared, his face contorted in anger, scoffing at the system's good luck message and questioning who it thought it was messing with, full of defiance. Gilioshan knew that in games, trash-tier characters usually allowed re-rolling for better options, but in this harsh new reality, there was clearly no such luxury or second chance. Gilioshan recalled the original story, where the non-player character whose body he now inhabited was destined to bleed out and die at this very spot. Gileoshan's red eyes narrowed with fierce determination, acknowledging that since he had entered this world and taken over this particular body, the original fate would not stand. Gileoshan's conviction flared up in an explosive thought, declaring that the original tragic ending would absolutely not be happening under his new control. A new thought abruptly struck Gileoshan. He had no idea how to actually use the skills he had just acquired, a critical oversight in his immediate survival plan. Before Gileoshan could even finish his thought, the hooded figure, now a blur of motion, lunged forward with the sword, preparing to strike with immense speed. With a pained gah sound, Gileoshan slumped to the ground, seemingly struck as the hooded figure moved away from his fallen body, the attack complete. The leader of the hooded figures addressed the group, commending their work and instructing everyone to retreat as quickly as possible from their current location. The commander outlined their planned exit route through the gate in the Lokman Mountains, but was interrupted by a hesitant subordinate calling out to him. The subordinate reported that the third prince, Gileoshan Volth, was unexpectedly still alive, to which the commander responded with shock, questioning how that could be possible given their actions. Gileoshan clutched his throat, his eyes wide and struggling as he let out guttural choking sounds, fighting against unseen forces or his fatal wound. Two hooded figures reacted with utter shock, one exclaiming loudly how it was even possible for the third prince to still be alive after their assault. Gileoshan clutched his throat, feeling immense pain after instinctively using a skill he thought was absolutely disgusting and felt like hell. A blue notification confirmed the restraint kink skill activated successfully, but it couldn't be used again for 24 hours. Gileoshan's skills were detailed. Agony kink boosted regeneration with non-lethal restraints and damage, cooling down in 15 minutes, while sadism kink caused bleeding with minimal damage, also on a 15-minute cooldown. The F-rank slave gladiator card floated, as Gileoshan internally questioned why he discarded a transcendent card to choose this trash. The restraint kink skill nullified one fatal attack when restrained, a 24-hour cooldown ability that had just saved Gileoshan's life. Gileoshan, still bound, knew these F-grade skills sounded good, but were flawed, as their use situations rarely arose. The commander then demanded to know why the third prince's head was still on. The hooded commander, Bamilo Demarche, warned Gileoshan that his trick wouldn't save him again, while a subordinate angrily called Gileoshan a bastard. Gileoshan looked up from the ground as a subordinate shouted out to the commander, calling him Bamilo Demarche. The hooded commander, Bamilo Demarche, with light blue hair and a mask, observed the scene with a cold, piercing gaze. Bamilo Demarche stood among his hooded figures in front of the ruined building, with Gileoshan still on his knees. The hooded figures, led by Bamilo Demarche, looked down at Gileoshan, their expressions unreadable, but their intent clear. Bamilo Demarche, confused, asked the third prince if he had lost his mind, demanding to know how he knew his name as Gileoshan began to rise. Gileoshan pointed upwards, declaring his identity, and asking if Bamilo Demarche didn't recognize his master possessing this body, insisting it was him. A new thought bubble appeared, announcing Gileoshan's internal claim. I am the god of vengeance, Aolim. The two hooded figures exchanged confused looks, puzzled by Gileoshan's sudden and bizarre claim of being a god. Gileoshan thought about the Grand Church of Aolim, a revolutionary faction in the game, realizing their kidnapping of a prince clearly proved their goal to overthrow the empire. Gileoshan planned his survival, realizing he needed to act as if he had pulled a washed-up theater actor card, preparing for a dramatic performance. Gileoshan decided to act even harder, repeating internally that he was Aolim's arrogance and rage, overflowing and unchained, and that he was divine. With eyes glowing red, Gileoshan dramatically shouted, "It's me, Aolim!" declaring he had descended into this vessel and calling the hooded figures fools. Gileoshan, still bound, lifted his foot as if to kick, demanding to be released at once and calling the situation disgusting. Bamilo Demarche questioned if Gileoshan was Lord Aolim's incarnate. Gileoshan reacted furiously, calling him an insolent worm and asking how he dared point a finger at him while in this body. Gileoshan then grabbed Bamilo Demarche by the face, demanding if he had lost his mind, and how he dared raise his hand to him. Bamilo Demarche's face was distorted in shock and pain as Gileoshan maintained his grip, asserting his perceived divine authority over him. The two hooded figures exchanged uneasy glances, wondering if Gileoshan had pushed his act too far with Bamilo Demarche. Gileoshan internally resolved not to waver, believing Aolim would do more than this, and recalled the 12 gods in this world, many of whom loved wreaking havoc through divine interference. Gilioshan thought about Aolem, who perfectly embodied his title by constantly involving himself in wars, fights, disputes, and all forms of drama. Bamelo de Marche, gritting his teeth in forced submission, uttered a reluctant, fine then, under Gilioshan's intense performance. Bamelo de Marche, with a resigned expression, acknowledged, I understand, Lord Aolem, but still had a hesitant thought. Bamelo de Marche, looking away, cautiously asked if it wouldn't be merciful to offer his unworthy believers a shred of Lord Aolem's faith. Gilioshan reacted with outrage at the idea of faith for these brats, agreeing to give them some, then angrily revealed he knew the golden idol they offered was merely gold-plated, calling it a death wish. Gilioshan frantically screamed for them to let him go right now as a voice from the side instructed them to release him from his restraints. Two hooded figures immediately apologized to Lord Aolem, confirming Gilioshan's internal thought that most of them had indeed fallen for his elaborate performance. Gilioshan internally reflected that no one would expect the useless third prince, Gilioshan, to pull such a stunt, though old man Bamelo still looked highly suspicious. A character info card revealed Bamelo de Marche, the cold and calculating high priest of the Grand Church of Aolem, who led the Avenger priests. Gilioshan looked down at Bamelo de Marche, maintaining his imposing divine presence, knowing he had to keep up the act. Bamelo de Marche humbly asked for forgiveness, stating he didn't recognize Aolem's divine presence, while Gilioshan mentally noted Bamelo was waiting to see what he would do next. Gilioshan internally understood Bamelo's thoughts, then scornfully asked if that was all, adding that they not only offered fake gold, implying further demands. Gilioshan stood tall, pointing his arm forward and imperiously demanding that they all kneel before him, solidifying his divine presence. The hooded figures promptly knelt before Gilioshan, their voices united in pleading for forgiveness, acknowledging his proclaimed divine authority. Bamelo de Marche expressed awe at the divine presence, but questioned why Aolem descended directly instead of through an oracle, making Gilioshan suspect him and notice another figure's unease. Gilioshan internally decided he needed a stronger failsafe, and dramatically declared that Gilioshan, the third prince, was a chosen apostle, warning them not to touch him. A close-up showed Gilioshan, the third prince of the empire, with a determined expression, fully embodying his new dual role. Gilioshan continued, proclaiming that the third prince would one day join their revolution, pressing his divine will upon them. Bamelo de Marche reluctantly understood, agreeing to Lord Aolem's will to let the prince live and return to their base. Bamelo de Marche's eyes betrayed his suspicion, believing Gilioshan's confidence meant someone was feeding him intel from within their organization. Bamelo de Marche remained deep in thought, convinced that someone was providing Gilioshan with intelligence from inside their ranks. Gilioshan informed Bamelo that the third prince wouldn't return to the palace, but would go to Orax to become an apostle, causing Bamelo to react with confusion. Gilioshan, with a stern face, commanded Bamelo to not only keep the prince safe on the way to Orax, but also to treat him with absolute honor and respect. Gilioshan observed Orax, internally noting it was enemy territory, but realizing his knowledge of future events made it surprisingly safer for him. Gilioshan smirked, planning to exploit Orax with his knowledge, letting go of the Archmage card, knowing there were many other ways to cheat the system. Gilioshan stood before the still kneeling figures, impatient, and demanded to know what they were waiting for, urging them to get moving already. Gilioshan's lips curled into a confident, self-satisfied smirk, his plan unfolding perfectly before him. A small anime character in a purple hood smiles and addresses the reader, thanking them for reading and inviting them to visit a website for more content. The image displays the Korean title of the chapter and the names of the original creator, Coldcat, and artists, Soonhwa and Vic, followed by the chapter number 3. A warm campfire crackled rhythmically in the forest, providing light and comfort during the night. A hooded figure enthusiastically offered Gilioshan a delicious skewer of grilled meat and vegetables. Various hooded figures eagerly pressed food and revolutionary liquor upon Lord Gilioshan, each insisting their offering was the best. Gilioshan groaned in exasperation, telling them to stop shoving things in his face and reminding them he was on a diet. The hooded figures, their eyes glinting, insisted they must show Lord Aolem the utmost hospitality, making Gilioshan notice their piercing gazes. Gilioshan, eyes glowing red, visibly struggled with his desire to eat, internally battling his resolve against the delicious temptation. A hooded figure reassures Gilioshan that he has a perfect figure and can stop dieting, encouraging him to eat with ease, though Gilioshan internally calls it torture. Bamelo de Marche, the high priest, chastises the hooded figures for not setting up a perimeter, wondering what they are doing while Gilioshan observes him. Bamelo de Marche, Angered, calls the figures slack for forgetting they are still in Imperial territory and sternly orders them to get up now, which they promptly obey. Gilyoshan, feigning indifference, tells Bamilo de Marche to not take it too harshly, as the figure's faith runs deep, adding that he is trying to let it slide. Gilyoshan holds up a piece of meat, claiming nothing beats bird meat, then quickly corrects himself, stating he brought it for himself, to which the other hooded figure calls him the worst. A bone is tossed into the crackling campfire as someone observes that Gilyoshan, the third prince, has indeed lost a considerable amount of weight. A comparison shows Jillian's drastic weight loss in 3 days, surprising him as he wonders if he was swapped with someone else due to the transformation. Sitting by the fire, a hooded figure remarks to Gilyoshan that they have seen many people as an assassin in the order, but never met anyone as relentless as him. The hooded figure recalls their initial skepticism about Gilyoshan, remembering their first impressions before his transformation and impressive resolve became apparent. The hooded figure recalls wondering how they would smuggle Gilyoshan out of Imperial territory, as even Gilyoshan himself admits his condition was not normal. Gilyoshan is depicted falling face first onto the forest floor during their journey, showing his immense physical struggles and weakness in his original body. Gilyoshan's internal frustration manifests as he questions what could possibly be wrong with his current physical body, expressing his utter bewilderment at its weakness. Gilyoshan attempts to rise, but immediately collapses, noting he cannot even stand. His character info reveals him as Gilyoshan Aelidi Balt, with a shockingly low stamina of 9, making him gasp. Gilyoshan stares in disbelief at his stamina stat of 9, questioning aloud if such a low number does not practically classify him as a walking corpse. With determination, Gilyoshan still bound resolves to increase his stamina no matter what, and lose some weight in the process. A hooded figure expresses concern over Gilyoshan collapsing so early, fearing they too will be in danger. Another reminds them of Lord Elam's command, and wonders if a potion should be used. Gilyoshan, enduring pain, vehemently refuses potions, stating that the Avenger priests might have to fight in his place, and internally finds being a burden to others a disgusting feeling. Gilyoshan falls to the ground in pain, feeling disgusted by his physical weakness and the burden he is becoming to the others around him. The two hooded figures exchange surprised and confused glances, bewildered by Gilyoshan's sudden change in demeanor or unexpected reaction to his struggle. Gilyoshan pushes himself up from the ground, with immense effort, his back straining as he visibly fights against his body's severe limitations. With blood staining his face, Gilyoshan glares intensely, his eyes burning red, as he firmly rejects the potion and commands everyone to immediately get moving. Bamilo de Marche observes Gilyoshan with a deeply suspicious and calculating expression, his eyes narrowing as he tries to understand the prince's true intentions. A system notification appears displaying that the skill Taste for Pain has been successfully activated. Its powerful effects are set to last for the next 30 seconds. A notification explains Taste for Pain significantly increases physical and mental recovery when taking non-lethal damage with no follow-up attacks and has a 15-minute cooldown. Gilyoshan's bloodshot eye twitches, reflecting the intense pain and exertion he is experiencing, as his newly activated skill takes its toll on his body. Gilyoshan repeatedly slams his body against a tree and then falls to the ground, initiating painful self-inflicted damage to activate his skill and increase stamina as his escorts watch. A triumphant notification appears confirming that as a direct result of his intense, self-inflicted training, Gilyoshan's stamina has successfully increased to 37. Gilyoshan looks determined, acknowledging his stamina improvement, but asserts this is only the beginning of his journey, and he still faces a long, arduous path ahead. A hooded figure informs Gilyoshan that tomorrow they will arrive at the teleport gate used to return to Orax, mentioning a slight problem with their original mission. The hooded figure explains that their original mission was to kill Gilyoshan, and no one expected him to become Lord Elam's apostle. Bamilo de Marche's intense blue eyes narrow suspiciously, his brow furrowed as he deeply considers the hooded figure's words and the ramifications of their changed mission. The hooded figure confirms their original plan to leave a corpse failed, but notes the third prince's unofficial return makes it seem the alliance has collapsed. Bamilo de Marche, sitting, explains that since their identity is known, predicting their escape route is easy and the teleport gate is likely blocked by the Avenger priests. Gilyoshan, with a powerful KKK sound, clenches his hands, indicating that despite the challenges, they must now significantly increase their pace and speed. Bamilo de Marche expresses surprise Gilyoshan knew about an inside collaborator, asking if he knows who it is, to which Gilyoshan confidently confirms he does. Gilyoshan reveals the collaborator is Viscount Zyric Moss, the Imperial Minister of Internal Affairs, then challenges Bamilo de Marche if his information is incorrect. Bamilo de Marche asks Gilyoshan what makes him think that, and Gilioshan internally admits he did not expect such a direct question from the high priest. Gilioshan internally notes that Bamilo is genuinely curious about him and understands that to influence the Avenger priests, he must prove his capabilities and insight. Gilioshan internally reminds himself that Zarek Moss is a significant figure, not a disposable character, and he possesses knowledge of Moss's every strategic move. Gilioshan explains that the minister may be imperial, but his roots are from the Khan tribe, who recently fought the Empire for control of the Northwest region. Gilioshan adds that the Khans are closely allied with the Revolutionary Army, prompting a sudden realization in Bamilo Dumarche as the pieces connect with the distinct sound. Gilioshan reveals Zarek Moss's daughter just married into a native noble family from the northern lands, who are technically revolutionaries, often caught in border skirmishes. Gilioshan elaborates that constant skirmishes near the border mean a native noble from that region is either a mortal enemy of the revolution. Gilioshan concludes that such a native noble from that region could also be a valuable collaborator, revealing the complex alliances at play. With a forceful sound, Gilioshan explains that Zarek Moss married his daughter to create a link to the revolution, and the marriage was to someone from the Grand Temple of Aeolum. Gilioshan speculates that the minister's son-in-law might be a follower or priest of Aeolum, grinning with fascination, wishing he had studied so diligently earlier. Bamilo Dumarche looks at Gilioshan in sheer astonishment, marveling at the third prince's exceptionally keen insight, so vastly different from public perception. Gilioshan observes Bamilo's evaluating gaze, noting the high priest sees only his current appearance, not his true self, as the escape route is now certainly blocked. Gilioshan internally realizes his survival has altered the game's script, meaning Zarek, the Minister of Internal Affairs, will now deploy his strongest countermeasure with an exclamation. A powerful, armored figure is revealed, and a surprised voice exclaims, Marquis Elon Roy, identifying him as a significant new threat. Bamilo Dumarche suggests they shake off pursuers and reach the gate, acknowledging the difficulty, but Gilioshan rejects this, stating they cannot break through if surrounded. Bamilo Dumarche asks Gilioshan for his suggestion, and Gilioshan, with determination, states he must find an entirely new route, a path only he can forge. A hooded figure, presumably Bamilo Dumarche, looks concerned, reminding Gilioshan of Lord Aeolum's command to ensure his safety, and proposes they wait here for a while. Gilioshan questions why they would wait here, as a KKK sound indicates a plan unfolding, and another figure observes their exchange. Gilioshan confronts the masked hooded figure, stating he plans to wait for the, quote, bear and the nightingale who are pursuing them, then asks if his assumption is correct. The masked hooded figure slowly steps towards Gilioshan, confirming his suspicion by asking if he is waiting for his escorts, making Gilioshan internally question the hooded figure's motives. The masked hooded figure challenges Gilioshan, asking why his lips are sealed now that he has been accurately read, with a sharp sound. The masked hooded figure, with a menacing sound, grips his sword and threatens to forcibly open Gilioshan's mouth if he continues to refuse to speak. The masked hooded figure, standing over Gilioshan, sternly demands an answer from the third prince, warning that his sword's patience is quickly running out. Gilioshan laughs mockingly, then defiantly asks the masked hooded figure who he is, stating he will not answer someone he does not even know. Gilioshan, with a mocking laugh, questions the masked hooded figure's impatience, asserting Bamilo Dumarche would not tolerate such disrespect. The masked hooded figure, angered, retorts to the third prince, realizing Gilioshan is easier to provoke than he assumed. Gilioshan, taking a deep breath, declares he will provide 2 answers to the masked hooded figure's demand for information. Gilioshan explains his first point. He has no intention of returning to the palace. He then asks rhetorically if he would have pursued the Avenger priests to this location if he merely wished to stall for time. Then, Gilioshan confirms the masked hooded figure's suspicion. He is indeed waiting for the bear and the nightingale. The masked hooded figure responds with a surprised what? Gilioshan challenges the masked hooded figure, stating he owes no explanation since he does not know who he is, adding that he thoroughly despises punks like him. The masked hooded figure, lunging forward with a swift motion, angrily declares he spared Gilioshan's life, yet the third prince still does not know his place. Gilioshan notes a faint scent of flowers. A powerful impact stops the masked hooded figure's advance as another hooded figure, Urgal, intervenes, firmly stating that is enough. Gilioshan, startled, looks at Urgal and asks what just happened as the new hooded figure stands by him. Urgal stares intently at the masked hooded figure, who flinches, his aggressive posture softening under Urgal's gaze. The hooded figure introduces Urgal to Gilioshan, explaining that, while not officially church, Urgal is a comrade in their revolutionary cause, with a slight rustle of his cloak. Gilio-shen, his eyes narrowed, internally confirms his earlier suspicion that the masked, hooded figure was indeed a mercenary. An internal thought explains player characters in this world are not bound by factions and can travel freely, like mercenaries, validating Gilio-shan's assessment of the masked hooded figure. The masked hooded figure internally notes he has never heard of an NPC named Urgel. He then suspects that Urgel, like himself, might also be a real human. Urgel, now that introductions are made, presses Gilio-shan, asking if he can now explain why he is waiting for the quote, bear and the nightingale. The story introduces Kars Cillian, a formidable 6-star knight who loyally follows third Prince Gilio-shan like a shadow, alongside another powerful female figure. Urgel, watching a crackling campfire, urges Gilio-shan to reveal why they must wait for his escorts at this location. The masked hooded figure impatiently tells Urgel they have no time, insisting they should eliminate Gilio-shan and turn him into a corpse while they still can. Gilio-shan's eyes widen in recognition, as he mentally identifies Marquis Elon Roy as the commander of the Special Forces Knights. Urgel then directly asks Gilio-shan if he knows Marquis Elon Roy, demanding a simple yes or no answer, as question marks surround the prince. Urgel, with a serious expression and piercing blue eyes, intently awaits Gilio-shan's response to his direct question about Marquis Elon Roy. Urgel acknowledges that Marquis Elon Roy is one of the Empire's 3 great sword masters, then presses Gilio-shan, implying he must not be suggesting they can beat him. Urgel challenges Gilio-shan again, questioning his silence and asking why his lips are sealed after hearing about such a powerful opponent. Gilio-shan internally scolds himself, recognizing that directly engaging Marquis Elon Roy, an 8-star sword master and top-tier NPC comparable to a level 500 player, is a suicidal act. Gilio-shan internally concludes that charging directly at Marquis Elon Roy, as Urgel suggested, would undeniably be a death march. Urgel is surprised by Gilio-shan's quick agreement, internally noting it is unexpected, as he thought Gilio-shan would question his trust. Urgel observes Gilio-shan, internally remarking that the third prince is not entirely foolish, showing a grudging respect for his insight. The bearded hooded figure asks Gilio-shan for his suggestion, acknowledging that if Elron Roy blocks the gate, even the bear and nightingale cannot help them. Urgel, observing Gilio-shan, internally acknowledges that the third prince seems to possess some crucial information. Gilio-shan confidently declares there is a way, stating that if they follow his instructions, they can safely enter Orax through the gate. Gilio-shan demands they first promise to keep his words secret, then insists they swear it in the name of the god Yulam, ignoring the masked hooded figure's comment about pinky promises. Urgel listens intently, his expression unreadable, as Gilio-shan requests a solemn vow from the group before revealing his plan. The masked hooded figure, Bamilo, solemnly swears in the name of Yulam to keep Gilio-shan's words secret and carry them to the grave, confirming his promise with a gesture. Urgel asks Gilio-shan to retrieve a specific item for him, and Gilio-shan inquires about the nature of the object in question. Gilio-shan, smiling slyly, explains he only needs a simple pair of glasses, a unique item that can solely be acquired within the city of Orax. Gilio-shan begins to reveal the true identity of the quote to his companions, identifying him by the name Kars Cillian. Kars Cillian, a blonde knight, is shown as a formidable ex-Imperial knight who defected to lead the Azure Sky Knights after the Empire fractured. Gilio-shan uncovers a deeper secret, clarifying that Kars Cillian's true name is actually Kars Royt, linking him to the Empire's great swordmaster. The masked hooded figure expresses astonishment, asking if Kars is Marquis Elron Royt's illegitimate child, visibly taken aback by the unexpected revelation. Gilio-shan confirms that very few people, not even Kars himself, are aware of this hidden truth about his parentage and Elron Royt. The masked hooded figure realizes Urgel's true identity, concluding Urgel must be another real human who has also figured out the masked hooded figure's own identity. The masked hooded figure's thoughts race with shock, wondering how much Urgel truly knows about the intricacies of this game. A distant explosion rocks the area, and a panicked shout of "Your Highness" echoes, signaling an approaching threat and an urgent situation. Kars Cillian and a female companion appear, swords drawn, urgently calling out Gilio-shan's name, demanding to know where their highness is. Kars Cillian and the female companion stand ready, their weapons drawn, facing off against the group of hooded figures in the shadowy forest. Kars Cillian angrily confronts the hooded figures, accusing them of kidnapping the prince and demanding Gilio-shan's immediate release right now. The masked hooded figure responds calmly, admitting to the initial kidnapping, but clarifying that Gilio-shan is now following them willingly. Gilioshan notes he left marks for cars, who arrived quicker than expected. He warns that if Tirvain joins, the Avenger priests will attack relentlessly. Gilioshan, feeling the escalating danger, internally acknowledges with urgency that they need to move immediately to avoid further conflict. A powerful female figure, Tirvain, enveloped in raging flames, demands to know Gilioshan's whereabouts, threatening to burn everyone to find him herself. Urgel and the masked hooded figure stand by the campfire, observing Tirvain's fiery and furious approach, bracing for her imminent arrival. Tirvain's eyes narrow with fierce determination, her gaze burning with an intense resolve to locate Gilioshan immediately. Tirvain unleashes a scorching, fiery attack towards the hooded figures, her immense power radiating intensely across the scene. Gilioshan rushes forward, calling out to his master, Tirvain, pleading with her to wait just a moment and listen to his explanation. Gilioshan stands between the two factions, mediating as Kars Cillian and the female figure watch with confusion, pausing their assault. Gilioshan looks visibly strained, huffing with exertion after intervening to stop the impending conflict between the groups. Kars Cillian and the female companion look at Gilioshan with puzzled expressions, clearly unsure how to interpret his surprising intervention. Gilioshan addresses Kars, confirming his identity and reassuring him that it is indeed he, Gilioshan. Kars Cillian trembles with rage, fiercely demanding to know what the hooded figures did to leave His Highness in such a weakened state. The masked hooded figures exchange confused glances, wondering aloud if they truly harmed Gilioshan significantly in any way. Gilioshan turns to Kars and his master, offering to explain the situation fully and clarify the events that have transpired. Kars Cillian looks confusedly at Gilioshan, asking what he means by saying he was not kidnapped. Gilioshan, with a casual gesture, clarifies that he was kidnapped at first, but assures them that he is not anymore. A frustrated "you damn" is heard. Kars Cillian remains puzzled, uttering "EH" as Tirvain stands behind him, her fiery aura still subtly present. Tirvain grinds her teeth in anger, muttering, you little brat," in frustration at Gilioshan's surprising statement. Tirvain unleashes her fury, exclaiming she went through hell to rescue Gilioshan, threatening to blow him away along with the hooded figures if he doesn't sit still. Tirvain furiously demands Gilioshan to get over here, questioning if this is how she raised him, while Gilioshan wonders if she is truly a witch or just a thug based on her sailor-like language. A character profile identifies the female companion as Tirbain Sue, also known as Bright Shadow, a witch from the Vault Magic Empire, though Gilioshan clarifies she is actually only 19. The story explains that the title of witch, along with magic and memories, is passed down through a line of succession, including the name Tirbain Sue. The narrative further reveals that even their appearance is passed down, a tradition maintained to preserve the myth and instill fear. Tirvain, calming slightly, advises herself to be composed, noting they don't seem to be in immediate danger and should listen to the others first. Tirvain blushes slightly and responds with a soft, "Yeah, yes sir," to Kars Cillian, who stands beside her with a confident smile. Gilioshan observes Kars Cillian and Tirvain, thoughtfully, a subtle sound accompanying his contemplation. Gilioshan declares to Kars Cillian and Tirvain that he is going to Orax, eliciting concern from a small figure about leading the prince astray, and a furious demand from Kars about entering enemy territory. Gilioshan asserts he knows everything and doesn't expect trust, emphasizing that his current actions are not his usual foolishness. Gilioshan's resolve shines in his eyes, as he explains that his current path is entirely his own will, his chosen fate, and the only way forward. Gilioshan firmly orders Kars not to stop him, stating that this directive comes directly from his prince. Gilioshan turns to Kars and Tirvain, humbly asking his master to forgive her unworthy student for his recent actions. Gilioshan continues, telling Tirvain that she might think he has been avoiding her lessons. Gilioshan assures Tirvain, gesturing openly, that he has not abandoned his magical studies despite appearances. Gilioshan promises Tirvain that the time isn't right yet, but one day he will claim the powerful five-colored light, thanks to her teachings. Tirvain looks surprised, pondering whether Gilioshan truly hasn't given up on magic. Tirvain's thoughts race as she recalls Gilioshan's newfound gaze and his words about claiming the five-colored light through her teachings, a stark contrast to his past self. A mystical light and text appear, proclaiming that great magic will burn bright and take on the five-colored light. Tirvain observes Gilioshan, bewildered, wondering how he knows the ancient lineage passed down at the five-colored spires, a secret unknown to most mages today. Tirvain's internal monologue continues, expressing disbelief that Gilioshan, whom she thought lacked interest and talent, was secretly obsessed with magic while pretending not to care. Tirvain realizes the extent of Gilioshan's deception, acknowledging he flawlessly played the fool in the royal palace. Tirvain is filled with self-reproach, questioning what she has been doing for the past 5 years as Gilioshan's teacher, failing to see his true potential. Alright, Tirvain notes to Gilioshan that she was already demoted for being the third prince's teacher, implying she has little left to lose. Tirvain, with a confident pose and a slight smirk, declares that it is her duty to believe in her student now that he has found his resolve, even playfully suggesting he might make her the head of the Spires someday. Tirvain muses that Gilioshan finally looks like someone who knows where he's going, but acknowledges that Sir Carcillion now presents the main problem. Tirvain's thoughts continue, realizing that Sir Cillian, from her tracking, is a man of pure principle who will not compromise, his sole goal being the prince's safe return to the palace. Carcillion clenches his fists, resolving that he would never disobey, even if ordered, and would instead apologize for his disloyalty but insist on returning Gilioshan to the palace, even if it killed him. UUWWAAAHHHH. Carcillion, with tears in his eyes, is deeply moved, lamenting that His Highness would say such words and sobbing openly. A sudden, sharp thought interrupts, expressing disbelief or surprise with a simple what. Carcillion kneels, sword in hand, declaring his unwavering belief that Gilioshan would one day rise to greatness, pledging Sir Carcillion will follow your will, your path, your destiny as your sword. Carcillion's vow continues, as he asserts that if anyone stands in Gilioshan's way, they will have to break his blade first. A hooded observer notes that both Carcillion and Tirbansui have now officially joined the party. Carcillion cries tears of joy, overcome with emotion as he fully commits to Gilioshan's new path, a fiery determination burning behind him. The commander of the Imperial forces, a stern man with a goatee, looks on with a critical gaze, muttering how stifling. The commander stands in a military camp, observing the area as another soldier watches him from the foreground. The commander asks his lieutenant if there are any leads, stating that the search is taking too long, to which the lieutenant replies they found signs of escape, but the fugitives are highly skilled at deception. The commander grits his teeth in frustration, thinking of Gilioshan, whom he considers absolutely useless. The commander reflects on his son Kars, who was nearly a slave, and how he struggled to restore his reputation in the Cillian family, only for him to now be a third prince's useless bodyguard, doing tasks and being kidnapped, further sinking his good name. The lieutenant, shocked, questions the commander, who furiously curses Gilioshan, proclaiming his son Kars as one of the Empire's brightest prospects and worries what disaster might befall him next with such a prince. The commander's eyes narrow with resolve, considering that it might be time to separate Gilioshan and Kars for good and bring Kars back to the Night Order. The commander asks his lieutenant if Sir Carcillion and Dame Tirbansui are also in pursuit, and if there's a chance they will reach the prince first. The lieutenant replies that even a 7-star witch like Sue, with her poisonous fire magic, isn't really suited for pursuit. The commander smirks, satisfied, muttering that it looks like the heavens are on their side, indicating a strategic advantage. The lieutenant, confused by the commander's reaction, asks for clarification. The commander declares their mission to cut off the fugitives' escape route and eliminate them without negotiations, even if they have hostages, emphasizing the focus is solely on wiping them out, to which the lieutenant affirms his understanding. The commander gives the order to move out, and his subordinates confirm, commencing their pursuit under the night sky. The commander's strategy becomes clear. The special night forces are not to prioritize the prince's safety. The commander intends for his forces to focus entirely on eliminating the intruders. The commander's grim expression highlights his unwavering determination to complete the mission. The commander's chilling resolve dictates that it doesn't matter whose blood stains the ground in the process. Gilioshan's eyes widen, seemingly startled by something unseen, while a small character indicates where to read more chapters. Gilioshan asks Kars what he was thinking so deeply about and why he has the sword, startled, while Kars chuckles, replying he just has some use for it. Carcillion, still kneeling, compliments Gilioshan, noting that his cheeks have slimmed down and he is looking good. Gilioshan explains to Kars that he endured climbing mountains like a madman with those scary old guys, adding that Kars is lucky he didn't die seriously. Gilioshan muses that he survived, then wonders to himself what Carcillion is thinking about, completely confused by his companion's deep thoughts and current posture. Carcillion expresses his anguish to Gilioshan, explaining the immense burden he felt chasing him, believing he could not have endured if even the slightest harm had come to his highness. A narrator observes that in the original story, Gilyotion and Kars were like brothers, distant relatives who grew up together, which makes sense, and despite not being the original Gilyotion, he is truly glad to see Kars. The narrator identifies Kars as Kars Roit, his charge leader, a powerful tank known as the Knight of Dawn, whom he often brought along as a valuable endgame asset when raised well. Kars Roit smiles, expressing how surreal it feels to meet his old friend. Tirban Sui looks on in surprise, noting it's like reuniting with an old-school friend after many years. Tirban Sui yawns and stretches, greeting Gilyotion, and casually asking if he slept well after their journey. The narrator reflects that Tirban was harder to recruit and thus less utilized, pondering if that's why, or if part of Gilyotion's original heart still lingers within him. Kars Roit politely asks Sir Sui if she slept well, inviting her to sit and indicating he was just conversing with his highness, to which Tirban Sui blushingly replies yes. Tirban Sui, looking flustered, tells Sir Cillian she will go wash up first and then sit, while the narrator feels a bittersweet pang, like owing a debt despite being happy to see them. Kars Roit compliments Gilyotion, noting his sharper look and renewed energy, stating it feels like they are back in the old days, prompting Gilyotion to question, old days? Gilyotion contemplates the Youth Palace, a school for high-ranking nobles' children in the Empire, as Kars Roit's words evoke memories. Kars Roit recalls Gilyotion's bright past, how attendants loved him, and even His Majesty the Emperor cared deeply for him. Kars Roit laments that if their Balt Empire hadn't been so obsessed with magic, treating it as an essential skill, things would have been different for Gilyotion. Gilyotion, with a focused gaze, acknowledges the irony of being a prince in a magic empire with no magic talent, especially when he was once so full of promise. A flashback shows a young Gilyotion surrounded by attendants, the narrator understanding the pain of being so loved as a child only to be abandoned, but reminding himself this past is not his own. Gilyotion advises Kars not to dwell on the past, emphasizing that his former identity as a child does not matter now. Gilyotion explains that no one remembers the third prince from the Youth Palace anymore, except for Kars, urging him to focus on their present situation. Kars Roit, with a determined expression and a slight smile, emphatically agrees with Gilyotion, affirming, yes, your highness, and absolutely. Gilyotion, with a subtle smirk, remarks that thankfully people do not recognize him, which seems to confuse an unseen party who responds with a, huh. Gilyotion expresses confidence in mastering this world, preferring that, quote, trash characters stay as such, and notes that despite lacking magic aptitude, receiving an X-rank slave gladiator offers more chances than an archmage. Gilyotion instructs Kars to remember that he will survive and return with what it takes, asserting that upon his return to the Empire, no one will be able to mock him. Gilyotion's strong resolve dictates that no one will be able to mock him, who is now Kars's friend, brother, and master. Gilyotion's face displays a confident, slightly smug expression as he reiterates his determination. Kars, surprised, reacts to Gilyotion's comment about his head being held high, which Gilyotion deems unnecessary, making Kars quickly apologize and say he was just joking, urging Gilyotion to repent. Kars collapses to the ground, seemingly in despair, while Gilyotion and Tirban look on, and a small character reminds readers about new chapters. Gilyotion states that now their master is here, they should discuss their next plan, then reminds Kars why he cannot return to the palace, shown visually with a multitude of cockroaches. Kars confirms he remembers, stating Gilyotion said there are many traitors inside the palace. Gilyotion confirms this, then asks Kars if he knows the Marquess of Elon Roit, who guards the northern capital, which shocks Kars, who identifies him as his father's close friend and a great swordmaster. Gilyotion clarifies that the Marquess is not a traitor, but is currently blocking their path, intending to wipe out any assassins and escort Gilyotion back to the palace. Kars asks if Gilyotion will persuade the Marquess, as he did with Sir Sui and himself, to which Gilyotion thoughtfully wonders if his words would even reach the Marquess. Gilyotion tells Sir Cillian he doesn't want to disappoint him, but their current plan won't work at all, explaining that the Inquisition squad would be instantly wiped out and they would be dragged back to the palace helplessly. Gilyotion calmly reassures Sir Cillian that he is not disappointed and tells him not to worry. Gilyotion, with a knowing smile, asks if His Highness has another plan, and the Highness confirms he does. Gilyotion asks Kars Roit what the plan is, with Tirban Sui also expressing her curiosity to His Highness. Gilyotion grips his sword, stating that the plan is right here, a decisive look on his face. Gilyotion confidently declares he will beat the Marquess and pass through this place, asserting there is no other way forward. Kars Roit and Tirban Sui look utterly bewildered by Gilyotion's bold statement, a collective look of confusion on their faces. Kars Roit asks Gilyotion if he is ill and still human, while Tirba Sui suggests he has not come to his senses and asks if she can just go home. Gilyoshun, internally annoyed, wonders why everyone is so impatient, as Karsroit expresses disbelief with his hands on his cheeks. Gilyoshun angrily tells them they are all too much, and should at least hear how he plans to fight the Marquis, as Karsroit retorts about coming up with a plan against the captain. Tirba Sui, looking exasperated, comments that this is why Gilyoshun should have been more interested in magic earlier. Gilyoshun realizes why Karsroit and Tirba Sui are treating him like a joke, feeling frustrated by their reactions. Tirba Sui prompts Gilyoshun to elaborate, asking what exactly he is planning with an expectant gesture. Gilyoshun explains he is currently level 0, not even a 6-star, then reveals his plan to challenge the Marquis to a noble duel and make him drop his sword, calling it simple. Karsroit reacts with utter shock, declaring Gilyoshun's plan impossible, absolutely impossible, his eyes wide in disbelief. The text explains that a noble duel, also known as a conditional duel, is a traditional one-on-one duel method based on Balt Empire law and noble custom. The text further clarifies that a noble duel is a duel with set conditions, where victory terms and rules are mutually agreed upon and sanctioned by a witness. Gilyoshun states he needs to set conditions that make it possible, and instructs Karsroit to be the witness, asking if he understands. Karsroit questions what kind of strange conditions Gilyoshun is proposing, warning that the captain will not accept them, and he won't either if they endanger His Highness. Gilyoshun confidently announces that he will present the Marquis with 3 specific rules for their duel. Gilyoshun reveals the first rule is only pure swordsmanship, and the second is that dropping one's sword means instant loss, as Karsroit listens. Gilyoshun states the third rule for the duel is no armor, which clearly shocks Karsroit, his face contorted in disbelief. Karsroit emphatically tells Gilyoshun that those 3 rules are decidedly not in his favor. Karsroit explains that while the first rule about swordsmanship seems to help Gilyoshun since he lacks magic, it actually doesn't, because the captain is the strongest swordsman. Karsroit continues, pointing out that Rule 2, drop your sword and you lose, obviously favors the stronger opponent, as the weaker one is more likely to drop their weapon. Karsroit protests the no armor rule, reminding Gilyoshun they cannot allow dangerous conditions, stressing that a duel holds no one accountable, even a prince. Karsroit adamantly refuses to be a witness under those rules, stating it is absolutely not an option, while Gilyoshun remains composed. Gilyoshun tells Karsroit not to worry, but Karsroit questions how he can be so certain that his life isn't in any danger. Gilyoshun begins explaining a hypothetical scenario to Karsroit, describing a swordmaster who has trained for 50 years facing a newbie who picks a fight. Gilyoshun continues his hypothetical, asking Karsroit how he would act if the newbie was a prince, and he was a Marquis under those duel conditions, concluding he'd just toy with him and scare him off. Tirba Sui exhales in understanding as Gilyoshun explains the, quote, no armor rule for the noble duel, stating it will make the Marquis more cautious, ensuring Gilyoshun won't be killed, even if the Marquis desires it. Gilyoshun reassures Karsroit that the Marquis won't harm him with Karsroit as witness, but Karsroit remains bewildered, wondering why the captain would hate His Highness. Gilyoshun dodges Karsroit's question, internally noting Karsroit's father's intentions before vaguely attributing the captain's supposed hatred to some lingering resentment between them. Karsroit, still confused, presses Gilyoshun for more details on the resentment, but Gilyoshun awkwardly deflects, stating he cannot reveal the information to Karsroit right now. Tirba Sui, changing the subject, asks Gilyoshun why the clergy are not present with them today, expressing her curiosity about their absence. A goblin is shown, its expression blank and silent, awaiting further instruction as the scene shifts to the goblins. A hooded figure exclaims, surprised, at the sight of a tied-up goblin, claiming the one he personally caught was significantly larger than those currently present. Another hooded figure is shown, expressing annoyance and disdain with a quote-esque sound, commenting on the behavior of clerics these days. The high priest, with a creature on his shoulder, declares that true faith demands steady and sincere devotion, emphasizing the virtues required for their religious path. 2 hooded figures accuse the high priest of cheating, demanding that he release the creature, suggesting his actions are unfair in their current context. The high priest protests, stating he worked hard to catch the creature and cannot release it, while another hooded figure asks about the fate of people captured by goblins. Several individuals lie bound on the wooden floor, their hands and feet restrained, suggesting they are captives in a dark, confined space. A cloaked figure, presumably the high priest, approaches the tied captives, who react with expressions of awe and reverence, uttering exclamations of surprise. The high priest explains that he sent the captured villagers back home, instructing them to give thanks to the god Urim for his divine will and intervention. A voice declares that enough has been gathered and preparations are complete, then commands someone to go and fetch Prince Gilioshan. Several hooded figures eagerly volunteer to fetch Gilioshan, each asserting their closeness to him, while the high priest insists he will go himself, creating a minor squabble. A thought bubble expresses frustration over the constant bickering between the two individuals, highlighting their recurring arguments. The high priest, with intense eyes, reminds his followers that while Gilioshan might be a future apostle, until confirmed, he must be treated as a prince of an enemy nation, cautioning against emotional attachments. The high priest asks a hooded figure if he will go on their behalf, seemingly assigning the task of fetching Gilioshan to him. The hooded figure with white hair acknowledges the high priest's instruction, confirming that he understands and will proceed to go as commanded. The hooded figure decides this is perfect, as he needs to gather more information about the plan Gilioshan has devised. Some hooded figures question why they even brought Gilioshan, urging the high priest to release him, but another scolds them for not cooperating with the plan, hinting at situational complexities. Gilioshan suggests they are almost finished with their current task and invites Karsroit and Tirban Sui to discuss matters further while they walk. Tirban Sui, looking puzzled, questions Gilioshan about what exactly they are supposedly done with, seeking clarification on his statement. Gilioshan explains he instructed the priest squad to clear out a nearby goblin village, anticipating they should have completed their task by now. A thought bubble clarifies Gilioshan's strategy, explaining that in game terms, this method would be referred to as, quote, power leveling. Karsroit and Tirban Sui exchange confused glances, a large question mark highlighting their bewilderment at Gilioshan's unconventional approach. Gilioshan, with a cunning smile, confidently refers to himself as the third prince, Gilioshan, pondering his next move. The scene reveals the, quote, damp goblin village, described as a hunting ground inhabited by seasoned goblins, explicitly not recommended for beginners. Gilioshan, walking with Karsroit and Tirban Sui, confidently declares that he will now explain the leverage he possesses for their plan. Gilioshan reveals his leverage, explaining to Karsroit and Tirban Sui that he knows the Marquis' crucial weakness, setting the stage for their discussion. Karsroit, surprised, suggests he also knows the commander's weakness, questioning if it is the imbalance between his magic and swordsmanship abilities. Tirban Sui confirms Karsroit's theory, stating she has heard similar rumors about the commander's lacking mana output efficiency. Gilioshan corrects them, revealing the Marquis' true current weakness, a seriously paralyzed right shoulder, which is far more critical than mana efficiency. The narration explains that in the game, Marquis Roet's paralyzed right shoulder is a result of specific in-game circumstances. The formidable Marquis Roa stands resolute in his blood-stained armor, holding his sword with a determined and grim expression. Tirban Sui expresses surprise, stating she has never heard about the Marquis's injury before, to which Gilioshan confirms it is indeed true. Tirban Sui questions Gilioshan on his source, and Gilioshan internally decides it is time to craft a convincing fabrication to explain his knowledge. Gilioshan claims he overheard a private conversation between His Majesty and the Imperial Knight Commander, a believable lie Tirban Sui accepts as accurate. Karsroit realizes this means the commander cannot use Vanguard swordsmanship, as it requires both hands, a crucial observation Gilioshan confirms. Vanguard swordsmanship, an S1 grade comprehensive technique, is described as the secret dual-wielding sword art of House Roit, known for its destructive slashes. A special bonus is revealed. Wielding Riot's famed sword, Howlblade, significantly increases damage output by 20%. Vanguard, a top-tier S1 destructive sword style, elevated Elon Roit to 9-star rank and synergizes perfectly with his Howl Point skill. Tirban Sui understands the commander cannot use his signature technique, and Gilioshan ponders a potential strategy based on this limitation. Karsroit cautions Gilioshan that, even with an injury, a swordmaster like the commander can still use one-handed sword techniques at a 7-star level. Karsroit emphatically warns Gilioshan that the commander, even with one hand, possesses a skill level far beyond his own. Gilioshan internally questions Karsroit's unwavering loyalty, wondering if he is simply a loyalty junkie or genuinely concerned about the commander. Gilioshan concedes Karsroit is not entirely wrong, but reveals he also knows the specific sword style the Marquis will resort to using with his single hand. Tirban Sui expresses surprise that Gilioshan possesses such detailed knowledge, even about the Marquis' specific one-handed sword style. Gilioshan explains Shin versus Affinity mechanics make even low-tier techniques powerful with the right matchup, suggesting a chance if they can just make the Marquis drop his sword. Gilioshan starts to reveal his chosen sword technique, but a hooded figure arrives, silently suggesting that technique alone won't make the Marquis drop his sword. The hooded figure, surprised, reacts with a "what the?" as he realizes the mysterious hooded figure with white hair has been present without his knowledge. The white-haired hooded figure steps forward, challenging Gilioshan, stating he lacks the strength to withstand even a single blow from the Marquis' sword. Gilioshan admits with a thoughtful expression that with his current strength he cannot directly block the Marquis' blade head-on. The white-haired hooded figure observes an image of a strength elixir, realizing Gilioshan's audacious plan to use it to defeat the formidable king of the Lokman Mountains. The white-haired hooded figure acknowledges their limited power, knowing it is impossible to defeat the monstrous king of the mountain with just him and the backup priest. The white-haired hooded figure explains their strategy is to simply lure the king of the mountain, confirming they are the intended prey and he will come to them. A close-up of a goblin's face, displaying a menacing scowl and sharp tusks, hints at an impending confrontation. The goblin growls, "Kirik don't come, human me hate human," fiercely warning the approaching human away. Kars Reut, visibly sweating and looking uneasy, glances nervously around, sensing the growing tension. Gilioshan, with a focused expression, examines a system prompt revealing he has 3 skill points available to acquire a new skill by opening the skill tree. Gilioshan consumes 3 skill points to learn Wanderer's Brawling Style, a technique of rough street fights, which seeps into his body and increases his strength and endurance by 1%. Gilioshan muses that to learn the necessary sword skill and face the Marquis, he needs to reach level 5, but is only level 1, realizing it is a long way to go, while a tied goblin looks on. The screen flashes multiple times with "you have leveled up," indicating Gilioshan's rapid progression as a new skill icon glows with power. Gilioshan consumes 4 skill points, learning Extreme Conditioning, a new ability that will enable him to handle crisis situations more effectively. The acquisition of Extreme Conditioning results in an increase of Gilioshan's intelligence by 1%, enhancing his strategic thinking. Kars Reut expresses surprise at Gilioshan's suddenly different aura, and Tirbansui questions if her disciple secretly ate something good without telling her. Gilioshan internally acknowledges the significant impact of skill buffs, confirming that even he can feel the transformative changes within his own body. Gilioshan admits he ate something the pre-squad prepared, but quickly informs Tirbansui he already consumed all of it when she asks to share. Tirbansui fumes at Gilioshan's gluttony while he smirks and remarks on her age. Aeom then calmly asks for their next move. Aeom, a hooded figure with a stern expression, stands ready to hear Gilioshan's next command. Gilioshan tells Tirbansui to calm down, suggesting they hunt any remaining goblin stragglers nearby to continue gaining experience. Gilioshan instructs the priests to guide goblins towards them, but only as many as they can manage, emphasizing his need to hunt them personally for experience. Gilioshan realizes that last hits are no longer sufficient for experience gain, and he needs to personally hunt the goblins while also getting a better feel for his sword. Multiple goblins charge towards Gilioshan and his allies, surprising him with their unexpected numbers, as he had only anticipated a few. A powerful, fiery aura erupts around one of the combatants, signifying a fierce attack or skill activation during the goblin engagement. Tirbansui assures Gilioshan she will engage and pin down 2 of the goblins, demonstrating her readiness for combat. A goblin growls, "Kirik, weak human, I kill you!" as it launches itself through the air, poised to strike Gilioshan. Gilioshan parries the goblin's attack, his sword deflecting the blow with a sharp clang of steel. Gilioshan internally questions how such a small creature possesses so much strength, as he struggles to withstand the goblin's power. Gilioshan continues to engage the goblin, recognizing that the Slave Gladiator card makes swinging a sword feel familiar, giving him an edge. Gilioshan notices hit points appearing on the goblin, just like in the game, signaling the precise moments to strike effectively. Gilioshan executes a decisive strike, landing a powerful blow on the goblin, demonstrating his improved combat prowess. Gilioshan smiles confidently, concluding that this is more manageable than he expected, and states "all right next," ready for more combat. Gilioshan activates his taste for pain skill, greatly increasing his mental and physical recovery for 30 seconds to endure the continuous battles. Kars Reut, showing clear signs of exhaustion, suggests to Gilioshan that perhaps they have done enough for today. Kars Reut informs Gilioshan that he and the pre-squad are completely exhausted, unable to continue fighting. The pre-squad and Kars Reut appear visibly fatigued and splattered with blood, reflecting the arduousness of their recent battles. Gilyoshun agrees that it's fair enough and they've done well for today, suggesting they return and enjoy some Revolution Reserve. The priest squad and Karsroit cheer in unison, expressing immense gratitude to Gilyoshun, exclaiming, "O Aolam, thank you." The sounds of the crackling campfire filled the night, providing warmth and light in the forest. A simple crate and a bottle sat nearby, indicating a temporary camp had been established. Aeoem, holding a bottle, grinned widely and began to tell a story, asking if he had told them about the time he ran into a massive orc, his voice echoing through the night. As the group gathered around the campfire, a soldier in the foreground urgently asked his captain what they should do, while Vern Pellet observed the scene from a distance, deep in thought. Karsroit, in his armor, pointed towards someone and chuckled, remarking that Gilyoshun was lying again as they continued to enjoy the evening. Peeking from behind a tree, Vern Pellet's expression was grim as he muttered to himself, wondering what the hell was going on here, his eyes focused on the group. Gilyoshun laughed heartily, seemingly unaware that someone was questioning if that was truly the third Prince Gilyoshun, whom they had heard described as a pig. Vern Pellet remained hidden behind a tree, his face etched with a silent, troubled expression as he continued to observe the strange gathering, trying to make sense of the situation. A soldier in armor turned to his comrade, asking Captain what should they do, questioning if they should eliminate them all while Vern Pellet watched from a distance. An officer called out Captain, prompting Vern Pellet to respond with a stressed expression that he needed to hold on and think, clearly troubled by the unexpected situation. Vern Pellet pondered the strange behavior, noting that for days they hadn't tried to cause confusion or erase their tracks, yet now they were openly lighting a fire without concealment magic and drinking. The observing officer reflected that only a few, including Prince Gilyoshun, were drinking, concluding that this unusual lack of caution could easily be a trap designed to lure them in. Observing Gilyoshun with Sir Karsilian and Tirbayan Sui, the officer realized the prince didn't look like a captive at all, despite their order to eliminate the kidnappers, a perplexing situation. After further consideration, the officer admitted to himself that looking at them now, the situation no longer seemed like a trap either, adding to his confusion. A soldier inquired of the captain what their orders were, to which Vern Pellet, with a determined look, commanded them to hold position, emphasizing that they needed to assess the situation before reporting or acting. The sight of Gilyoshun and his group around the campfire stunned the approaching soldiers, one muttering, "Whoa, what?" as they recognized them as the Special Forces Knights, completely unexpected. As Vern Pellet approached, a soldier called out his name, and Vern Pellet bowed, expressing his relief that His Highness Gilyoshun was safe, indicating the purpose of their arrival. Gilyoshun welcomed Vern Pellet, but Vern Pellet quickly turned to Sir Cillian, demanding an explanation, questioning if he had betrayed the Empire alongside His Highness and Sir Sui. Someone observed Gilyoshun, thinking that no matter how reckless and unruly the third prince may be, this level of disrespect being shown towards royalty seemed excessive. Vern Pellet reiterated to Sir Cillian that he had asked what was happening, but Sir Cillian firmly stated that His Highness would answer that himself, adding that, before that, there was something else to address. Gilyoshun stated his agreement with Lord Pellet, as Karsroit and Tirbayan Sui stood beside him, a unified front now formed against the new arrivals. Gilyoshun observed the men, a confident smile playing on his lips as he thought to himself that these men were quite reliable, weren't they? Vern Pellet's face contorted in a mix of frustration and anger as he stood silent, observing the unexpected turn of events. Vern Pellet, identified as the squad captain of the Special Forces Knights and the vice commander, knelt before Gilyoshun, offering a respectful greeting to His Highness of the Great Vault Empire. Gilyoshun told Lord Pellet that was enough, and he may rise. Then immediately asked Kars if he could speak with Lord Pellet privately for a moment. With Karsroit and Tirbayan Sui walking away, Gilyoshun extended a pleasant greeting to Lord Pellet, ready to discuss matters privately with him. Gilyoshun explained that for days the Revenge Priest Order hadn't caused disruptions or erased their tracks, assuming someone of Lord Pellet's caliber had noticed how strange that was. Gilyoshun clarified they had only been creating confusion for the pursuit squad behind them, prompting Vern Pellet to question why the Revenge Priest Order would do such a thing. Gilyoshun revealed it was because he asked them to, stating he was waiting for Vern Pellet, which surprised Vern Pellet, who then asked, "Why, Your Highness?" Gilyoshun dropped a bombshell, explaining first of all that he was not kidnapped, leaving Vern Pellet utterly shocked and stammering "Woolwhat" in disbelief. Gilyoshun explained his intention to go to Orax with the Revenge Priest Order, stating that to achieve this, he must meet with Vern Pellet's superior, Marquis Elon Royd. Gilyoshun, the brown-haired man, asserted that he was not insane despite the intense situation, trying to reason with whomever he faced. Chwak, Gileoshan felt a wave of frustration, muttering that even recklessness had its limits, indicating his deep concern for the escalating situation. Gileoshan, addressing the prince, sought clarification, asking if he had heard correctly that there was an intention to betray the empire. The prince, addressing Lord Pellet, indicated not every detail needed spelling out, suggesting further discussion upon reaching the gate to speak with Marquis Roit, followed by a confused, "What?" Lord Pellet pressed the prince, demanding an answer to whether he was wrong, to which the prince hesitantly conceded, admitting he was correct. Lord Pellet's eyes glowed red with newfound conviction, thinking that establishing control in this manner was precisely what was needed for their plan. The prince informed Lord Pellet they would depart at dawn as it was late, but first they had to make an essential stop at a specific location. Schwa, Lord Pellet inquired about their destination, and the prince, with a grin, explained they would merely hunt a harmful beast troubling the Empire's civilians. And just so we're clear, was the stern preamble to the prince's next directive, emphasizing the importance of his coming instructions. Is that correct? Chwak, the prince gripped Lord Pellet, warning him firmly not to even consider attacking the Revenge Priest Order, whether by night or stealth. The prince smirked, telling Lord Pellet, who served Commander Roit, that he must already know the truth regarding Kar's birth. Lord Pellet reacted with a shocked, "What?" questioning how the prince knew, while the prince, with a shook, asserted that tonight would pass peacefully. The prince reiterated, asking Lord Pellet if he understood that they should proceed silently, confirming his complicity in the plan. Tuck, a hand gripped the fabric firmly, the sound emphasizing the silent tension as the agreement was covertly sealed between them. The prince instructed Lord Pellet to return at dawn with his men, signaling the temporary conclusion of their covert discussion. Lord Pellet pondered if this was truly the reckless third prince, questioning if the rumors were wrong or if the prince had completely lost his mind. Dark smoke billowed upwards from a smoldering ruin in the forest, hinting at a recent, destructive event that had taken place. Lush green leaves adorned the foreground, providing a serene contrast against the clear, blue sky above the quiet landscape. A solitary figure, Marquis Roit, in golden and black armor, stood with his back turned, observing the tranquil green expanse. With one shoulder padded, Marquis Roig drew his blade, choosing the formidable technique of Trafalgar swordsmanship, ready for combat. The Marquis, wielding his roaring ego sword, the Roit family's symbol of leadership, proved it was more than a mere tool, showcasing a unique sword technique. Chwak. 4 skill points were spent, and the system confirmed the acquisition of the Nomadic Swift Blade, a new martial ability. The Nomadic Swift Blade, a C-rank composite skill, was revealed as a speed-based attack technique from a nomadic tribe, hinting at hidden secrets within it. The man in armor, now capable of using standard sword techniques, stood confidently, blade in hand, ready to engage in battle. The chibi version of the man in armor exclaimed with sparkling eyes that this newfound ability was truly incredible and exciting. Though Trafalgar swordsmanship was B rank and Nomadic Swift Blade C rank, their different styles, one crushing and the other swiftly relentless, suggested more than just rank mattered. A flexible sword technique could create openings. Part of mystical swordplay's 3 categories: crushing, swift, and fluid, creating a cyclical advantage. Swift techniques had an advantage over fluid ones, suggesting a single rank difference in swordsmanship could be overcome or even turned into an advantage with skill. The C-rank Nomadic Swift Blade, a speed-based technique from a resentful nomadic tribe with hidden secrets, was precisely what made it so intriguing. The distant Western Empire once held dominion over Luxon, a kingdom that existed as its vassal state, a historical fact. The nomads lost, but they left behind the legacy of the Nomadic Swift Blade, a powerful sword technique that would forever be remembered. This sword technique was designed to counter Luxon's Trafalgar swordsmanship. A knight informed Gilishan, "Your Highness, everyone is assembled. We're ready to depart," before their mission. Gilishan said, "All right, I'm coming now," with a tuck. He thought, it's only a C-rank technique for now, but its true potential will soon reveal itself. Kars, Ergal, and a masked figure surveyed the landscape as sounds of pepeng echoed, indicating the tension of their mission. An observer let out a quiet, "Ah," noting the group's strained dynamics. They never had the best relationship, did they? The thought continued as they stood near the cave. Gilishan explained his strategy. Rather than a heavy strike, the key is continuous wounds over time. Everyone understands that, right? He asked, looking at his companions. One of the masked figures impatiently told Gileoshan, "Third Prince, we understand. You've said this for 10 minutes. Gileoshan muttered, "You lot, you don't get it at all." Gilashan mused. This is unexpected. I hadn't considered this. He had originally planned to stay out of the raid and leave orders to Urgel, but things changed. The masked figure stood in silence, listening intently to Gilashan's words, awaiting further instructions or revelation. Gilashan told the masked figure, "You're coming too. These people don't seem willing to listen to me." The masked figure quietly responded, "I suppose that's true." Gilashan ordered Kars to hit him hard for all to hear. Kars protested, "Your Highness, how could I strike you?" Gilashan insisted, "It's fine, I need this to survive." Kars delivered a powerful blow, causing Gilashan to bite his tongue with an EOK sound. Gilashan had told him, "I said it's fine." Gilashan exclaimed, "Ah, damn, hitting you while I'm talking is against the rules," the sudden action surprising the assembled group. Gilashan Elo Devalth declared, "From this moment forward, I will take direct command. Revenge Priest Order, Special Forces Knights, pay attention." His voice resonated with authority. Gilashan warned, "Once we enter, set aside these petty power struggles and follow my lead. Otherwise, no one present will come out alive." His words were grim. The imposing figure of King Gromhart, ruler of the Lokman Mountains, exuded an aura of immense danger, a true threat to behold. Gilashan asserted, "Whether Revenge Priest Order or Special Forces Knights, if you don't follow my orders, you will die." Urgel muttered, "I thought this was just pest control." "All right, I think that's enough explanation." He was ready to move forward with the mission. Urgel's group stood ready. "Let's proceed," he commanded. A small chibi character thanked the reader, inviting them to visit for exciting series. Deep within the caves, a monstrous figure, likely King Gromhart, lay defeated upon a chilling mound of bones. The monstrous King Gromhart let out primal sounds of Baelm TTUL, hinting at his monstrous nature and raw power. King Gromhart, surprisingly alive, began to sniff the air, a low sniff-sniff sound indicating he sensed something nearby. King Gromhart rumbled, "I knew I smelled something delicious. Fresh meat has come to me on its own." As he spotted the approaching group, Urgel stood before King Gromhart, observing the immense pile of bones with a horrified diop. "All of that is bone. Just how many has it eaten?" he wondered. Urgel affirmed, "There's no mistake. The monsters of the mountain range have been receiving offerings from nearby residents, realizing the true horror of the situation." Urgel lamented, "It's disgraceful. We were unaware until things got this bad, and now we must rely on rebels to deal with it," expressing his shame. APPAKAAK sound accompanied Urgel's grip on his sword. The Special Knights Division's failure weighed heavily on him. Urgel mused that the very existence of such a group, and their ignorance of it, was a profound and troubling oversight. Urgel declared, "It's all our fault. From this moment on, even if we all die, we will avenge the Imperial citizens who were sacrificed." "Understood?" he asked his knights. The knights responded with a resounding yes, their unified cry echoing with fierce determination and loyalty to Urgel. The masked figure, watching the knights charge, let out a tisk, asserting that vengeance was theirs, as Lord Aelem also desired retribution, so they were going too. Sounds of Pa-Bat and Peo-Sok echoed as the knights surged forward across the bone-strewn ground, their movements creating brilliant flashes of light amidst the chaos of battle. A powerful, sharp weapon was poised, ready to strike, its cold gleam reflecting the grim determination of the wielder amidst the escalating conflict. A knight lunged forward, engaging King Gromhart directly, their blades striking with repeated ka-ka-ka sounds, attempting to pierce the monstrous foe. A knight knelt or fell among the scattered bones, highlighting the brutal impact of King Gromhart's presence and the immediate danger of their mission. King Gromhart, a massive and fearsome figure, stood amidst flying debris and sounds of Piu, as a lone warrior, perhaps Urgel, prepared to face him. A knight struck King Gromhart with an OK, a powerful blow sending shockwaves through the cavern, demonstrating their resolve in the fierce combat. King Gromhart's eye glowed with intense energy, as KKK sounds emanated around it, indicating his immense power and the futile nature of direct attacks on his apparent weakness. Urgel observed that attacks to King Gromhart's eye had no effect, just as Gilashan had implied, and commanded the Special Knights Division to slice off every piece of the monster's shell, to which they responded with a unified yes. A white-haired knight, possibly Kars, was surrounded by a bright glow, signaling a powerful attack or defensive maneuver against King Gromhart. The masked figure, a member of the Revenge Priest Order, directly engaged King Gromhart, launching an attack with a, quote, woong sound, joining the fierce battle. Another knight from the Special Forces Division delivered a swift backstrike against King Gromhart, their blade leaving a brilliant trail of light in its wake. Multiple knights, both from the Special Forces and Revenge Priest Orders, converged on King Gromhart, encircling him with coordinated attacks and glowing strikes. Gilo Shan, Kars, and Ergal observed the battle, noting the special knight's incredible swordsmanship and speed, comparing their swift movements to that of the Holy Order. The three leaders continued to observe, noting the special knight's expertise in infiltration and covert ops, while Ergal remarked that King Gromhart was still only sitting, not yet at his full power. Gilashan analyzed the situation, concluding that Gromhart's Phase 1 was easily managed by agile DPS types, and that their current lineup was practically optimal for this stage. A thought indicated that the true challenge would begin in Phase 2, when King Gromhart finally stood up, signaling an imminent escalation of the battle. A Revenge Priest member questioned Ergal's whereabouts, then told their master to prepare magic, who agreed. They expressed an lamenting the lack of analysis time due to Ergal's quick-witted approach. King Gromhart began to tremble with sounds of Pudel and Pusilk as the surrounding attackers delivered numerous strikes, pushing the monstrous king to his limits. King Gromhart's eye glowed with fierce rage as he roared, calling his attackers insect-like filth, signaling his escalating fury in the transition to the next phase. Gilashan, recognizing the immediate danger, shouted for everyone to get back as King Gromhart began to fully awaken and prepare his counterattack. King Gromhart fully rose to his towering height, his monstrous form becoming even more imposing and dangerous, wielding a massive club, ready to unleash his true power. King Gromhart lashed out with a powerful blow, sending a knight flying with a devastating Peo Guang sound, showcasing his increased strength in his awakened state. The red-haired master of the Revenge Priest Order stood ready, her staff glowing with intense fire as she prepared to unleash a powerful magical assault on King Gromhart. The master unleashed a fiery serpent of magic with a BBAK sound, sending a powerful stream of flames directly towards King Gromhart. The fiery magic engulfed King Gromhart in a colossal explosion of light and heat, with sounds of Pobang echoing through the cave. Engulfed in flames, King Gromhart roared with fury, his eyes burning with a menacing red glow as OK sounds emanated from the inferno. King Gromhart, despite the fiery assault, stood firm, his massive form still imposing, his powerful steps creating thudding kung sounds as he prepared to counter. The red-haired master found her body strangely frozen, despite her efforts, as she uttered in surprise that she could not move under the monster's influence with a KKUL lung. The red-haired master was held immobile by an unseen force, trapped in a reddish aura, as King Gromhart's power completely overwhelmed her. The masked figure's swift KKA attack landed, creating powerful glowing Shaw strikes that bombarded King Gromhart, who stood firm despite the onslaught. King Gromhart roared with a fierce krog as multiple knights continued their glowing Shaw attacks, his red eyes burning with rage amidst the swirling chaos. King Gromhart was forced to his knee by the relentless glowing Shaw strikes, momentarily overwhelmed by the combined force of the attackers. A voice affirmed that everyone was doing well, observing the ongoing battle with satisfaction. Gilashan explained that King Gromhart had entered Phase 2, where his resistance to physical damage and natural regeneration increased, making sword attacks meaningless as he healed instantly. A hooded figure questioned if sword attacks were truly useless, asking about the effectiveness of using sword aura against King Gromhart. Gilashan clarified that imbuing swords with magic would help little, as efficiency dropped too much, and it was better not to use it, prompting another to ask how they would defeat the monster. Gilashan reassured them, explaining that magical elemental damage hit harder in this phase and King Gromhart could not regenerate from it, adding that Lady Tirban Sui would blast him with flame magic, which might draw his charge. Gilashan then instructed the knights to continuously draw King Gromhart's attention one by one, keeping him occupied until the master of the Revenge Priest Order finished her casting. Gilashan emphasized that instead of sword aura, they should focus their magic into speed and movement, addressing a group of knights including the hooded Revenge Priests. Gilashan confidently asked if they understood, remarking with a smirk that the plan was easy. Engulfed in a red aura, King Gromhart lashed out, showcasing his intensified power and the danger he posed in Phase 2. The hooded masked figure faced King Gromhart, who was surrounded by flames, as other knights engaged the monstrous king in the background. The masked figure smiled subtly, a sense of determination etched on their face. King Gromhart charged ferociously towards the hooded masked figure, displaying his increased speed and aggression in his awakened state. A knight's foot landed firmly on the ground amidst debris, emphasizing their agile movements during the intense combat. King Gromhart swung his weapon, striking a knight down with a powerful blow, demonstrating his overwhelming strength. The masked figure declared, addressing the Knights of the Empire, that they were witnessing the Blade of Revolution. The masked figure stood before three imposing knights with glowing eyes, indicating their alliance and a unified front. A crucial command was issued for everyone to fall back immediately, signaling a need to retreat from the perilous situation. Lady Tirbangsui, with her staff glowing, began to channel immense magical energy, preparing to unleash a powerful spell. King Gromheart, surrounded by attacking knights, swung his massive weapon with powerful blows, his movements creating strong impacts. Gilashan questioned Lady Tirbangsui, concerned about everyone losing focus, as she explained casting magic in her current state would engulf allies too. A realization struck that they were not inflicting enough magic damage, warning of dire consequences if King Gromheart transitioned into Phase 3 like this. Urgel frantically urged Lord Pellet to stop the fight and retreat quickly, emphasizing that the current situation was far more dangerous than before. Lord Pellet dismissed Urgel's concerns, commanding the Holy Order to fall back, asserting they were no match for the glorious Blade of Revolution and their superior swordsmanship. Gilashan yelled at Lord Pellet and Urgel to stop bickering, as King Gromheart delivered a crushing blow during their argument. Gilashan recoiled with a cry, impacted by King Gromheart's fierce attack, his body thrown by the force. King Gromheart's eye glowed with an eerie, intense light, hinting at a new, formidable power manifesting within him. The masked figure realized that the revolutionary sword was the crucial key, preparing to launch a decisive attack against King Gromheart. Lady Tirbangsui unleashed her powerful spell with a bang and ch sound, a blinding column of light striking the ground, scattering bones, showing the raw power she commanded. The ground rumbled and cracked with a krrk sound as the intense magical energy exploded outwards, further devastating the area and intensifying Lady Tirbansui's spell's impact. A crucial lesson echoed in the Highness's mind. One thing you must never do during a raid: let your guard down, contemplating the strategic errors. The Highness reflected that while boss raids feel easy when prepared, experienced gamers never truly relax until the fight is over, understanding the constant need for vigilance. They had learned that losing tempo to the boss could wipe out the party, and ironically, these allies weren't gamers, so they had become careless, making everything feel too easy. The Highness admitted that he too had let his guard down, realizing with a growing sense of dread that if they entered Phase 3 like this, not just them, but everyone would be in peril. The adventure briefly paused as a message about opportunities to join the team appeared, ensuring future exciting tales for readers to continue enjoying. The Highness thought, if this dire situation continued, he could really die, realizing the extreme danger they faced in the unfolding conflict. The Highness desperately sought a way out of the harrowing situation, but his mind, stressed and overwhelmed with a dull thudding, just wouldn't work. Suddenly, a comforting tap sounded as a hand gently landed on the Highness's shoulder, offering a silent gesture of support amidst his despair. Carls, the blonde knight, reassured the Highness, stating there was no need to worry, reminding him that his sword and shield, symbolizing his support, were right there. Carl explained with a slight smile that the Special Forces Knights and Vengeance Priests were the elite, having survived countless brushes with death, ready for battle. Carls noted it was good the Highness was returning to his former self, but felt he was carrying too much, offering to share the heavy burden if it ever became overwhelming. With a kind smile, Carls emphasized to the Highness that he should please share any burdens with them, anytime, reinforcing their united front. The Highness, visibly alarmed, exclaimed, "Carls, don't say things like that, that sounds like a death flag," fearing his words foreshadowed doom. Amidst the fierce battle, a knight, likely Carls, charged forward with powerful Hyok sounds, engaging the enemy with a strong, determined strike. A captain, his face etched with concern, asked a fallen soldier, "See, Captain, are you all right?" offering aid amidst the ongoing skirmish. The soldier, despite injuries, affirmed with a resolute of course as his sword glowed with a kwang and yak ready to fight again. The captain nodded, urging the soldier, "Good, hang in there just a bit longer," to which the soldier replied, "Yes, sir," standing firm. A new grim realization swept over them with a powerful visual ripple, indicating a critical moment where their current strategy simply would not do. The dark-haired commander, observing the chaos, reflected on the third prince's strategy, to divert attention from Commander Sui, holding enemies for her magic to hit. The dark-haired commander watched the fierce orc monster, noting they were drawing attention but lacked manpower to hold them, with too many injured amidst kung sounds. The dark-haired commander declared with a powerful Hyok and Hyong sound that they must fight for the sacrificed, avenge the Empire's people, and carry their burden, as his sword glowed. A swift and powerful JJEOK sound indicated a sudden, impactful strike, causing fragments to explode and scatter forcefully through the air. An intense, magical attack swirled with jujijik, Pot, Cheohit, and Hua sounds, unleashing a powerful blue energy blast that shocked the observing enemy. The massive boss monster was pummeled with a barrage of attacks, including a fiery blast from a small figure and a powerful blue energy strike, accompanied by hyung, quack, ppop, tap-tap, and psychic sounds. Did I read that back correctly for you? The dark-haired commander urgently shouted, "Now, Commander Sui," signaling for her to unleash her ultimate spell on the reeling enemy. Lady Tirban Sui's powerful spell engulfed the boss monster in a fiery explosion with a fierce kong, causing it to scream "Arg" in agony. The dark-haired commander observed the fiery impact with a slight smirk, simply stating, "Nice," satisfied with the devastating effect of Lady Tirban Sui's magic. Yet, a sudden sharp visual cue across someone's eye suggested an unexpected twist or lingering threat, even after the powerful strike. A faint shimmering light danced across the scene, hinting at a quiet moment before chaos erupted. The young man spotted the fiery monster Gromheart and nervously thought, "Wait, not Commander Sui," before realizing he saw me as the beast prepared to strike. Too late to dodge the fierce attack, the young man braced himself, knowing he had to block it. With a powerful clang, the young man successfully blocked Gromheart's brutal axe strike, a surge of energy emanating from the impact. The force of the blow ripped through the young man, leaving his face contorted in agony and splattered with blood. Gromheart lunges again as the young man falls, his resolve wavering, thinking, "Is this the end? And, Commander, it's been an honor serving under you." Suddenly, a blinding blue energy surge erupted, cutting through the intense battle, disrupting Gromheart's assault. The hooded commander intervened, catching the young man who exclaimed, "Commander," to which the commander replied, "Save the thanks, more importantly." The commander admonishes the young man, stating he is making such a scene that Gromheart is bound to notice him, to which the young man agrees with, "Tai. That's." The commander suggests splitting the burden for those who have fallen, and the young man, resolved, responds, "Fine," preparing for a joint attack. The combined blue energy from their swords struck Gromheart, illuminating the monster as they launched their coordinated assault. Gromheart's third eye flared with an ominous red glow, signaling a dangerous shift in its power and focus. The monster Gromheart roared as its body erupted in furious flames, intensifying its raw power. A young man with orange hair observes the unfolding battle with a satisfied smirk, declaring, "Good, that hit perfectly." The orange-haired young man flashes a thumbs up, satisfied, saying "good," and confidently adding he, quote, "knew Pellet and Bammel would pull it off." A confident red-haired woman watches, instructing her student to watch closely. This is what magic truly is as the battle rages. A pained or enraged expression contorted the monster's mouth, a guttural sound echoing through the cavern. The monster Gromheart transforms into a menacing new form, surrounded by dark energy, and the orange-haired young man states, "Nice, we've somehow made it to phase 3. The orange-haired young man noted that, thanks to their earlier crisis, both the knights and mages are now more alert and holding their own against Gromheart. The orange-haired young man observes that in phase 3, Gromheart loses physical resistance and regeneration, but its attack power inversely increases with its remaining HP. The orange-haired young man deduces that Gromheart is abandoning defense for offense, and its target is always the weakest enemy, his eye glowing ominously. The orange-haired young man realizes, with a concerned expression, that Gromheart's target will be him, as he has the lowest level. Gromheart's evil eye is now fixed on the orange-haired young man, who warns everyone that it is almost time and they should get ready. Gromheart roars in fury, cursing the damn slabs of meat who dared to piss him off, growling, "Grrrrh," and threatening, "I'll chew you up, bones and all, one by one." A massive chunk of rock, launched with incredible force, hurtled through the air, heading straight for the group. A deafening thud echoed as the projectile violently impacted something unseen. The orange-haired young man stares in disbelief, questioning, is that even possible, after witnessing the attack's outcome. The others gaze in shock at the devastation, one gasping, "WH, what the hell is going on?" and another whispers, "Yo, your highness," all wondering, who could have done this? The hooded commander, having dealt a decisive blow, kneels over the defeated monster, Gromheart, who lies motionless. The mysterious hooded commander stands victorious on a rock, gazing down at the vanquished beast, Gromheart. The orange-haired man nervously asks the hooded commander if they succeeded, to which the commander, Irgol, confidently replies that they did, and they truly got it. Irgol, the hooded commander, stands with Bammel, the white-haired young man, both looking forward with a sense of accomplishment after their victory. The hooded commander, Irgol, praises Pellet, the brown-haired man, for having done well, who humbly responds that his words are too kind, as a soft clang echoes. The orange-haired man reflects, wondering if such tactics were possible in this godforsaken world, realizing this part should have been totally obscured. The orange-haired man gazes at the hooded Urgal, wondering aloud just who this mysterious guy truly is. The orange-haired man's lips are seen as he urgently questions Urgal, demanding to know his identity. The orange-haired man, frustrated, repeatedly demands what Urgal is, realizing Urgal has likely figured out his own secret, asking if he is not a player. The hooded commander, Urgal, with a slight smirk, questions dismissively why he would need to tell the orange-haired man anything. The orange-haired man thinks to himself, frustrated, that he does not even know who Urgal is. The orange-haired man firmly states that he will not answer any questions when he does not even know what Urgal is. A sudden realization dawns upon the orange-haired man, indicated by a sharp intake of breath. The orange-haired man observes Urgal walking away and realizes one definite truth about the elusive commander. The orange-haired man concludes with an exasperated thought that Urgal is unbelievably petty. This image serves as an end-of-chapter message and is not part of the narrative. The hooded commander, Urgal, announces that they have arrived at Gromhart's treasure vault as the group of knights and Pellet look on. Percival, Pellet, and the other knights gather at the entrance of the vault, looking inside to find it seemingly empty. The orange-haired man with a slight smirk addresses Pellet, questioning what he means by saying there is nothing there. A dark-haired man with glowing eyes recounts how Gromhart was obsessed with drinking and partying, while another voice questions if he is referring to the liquor. A booming voice echoes through the cavern, announcing that Gromhart is dead and urging everyone to come out. With a soft sound, a group of Imperial Special Task Force knights, led by Urgal and Pellet, steps into the cavern, revealing several bound captives. The orange-haired man, surprised, exclaims that he recognizes the hooded, bearded man among the new arrivals. A male captive joyfully announces that the hooded man is God Aolam, and they are saved because God has come to rescue them. The bearded man chuckles softly, clarifying that he is not Lord Agolam, the god of vengeance. The bearded man states he is merely a servant of Aolam, sent to save them, while a knight leader declares they are the Imperial Special Task Force Knights, here to rescue everyone. The bound captives murmur in confusion, questioning the name Special Task Force. An older male captive laments that he had assured his son the Empire would save them. The older captive's tied hands tremble as he cries out in anguish about his son's fate. The older captive furiously yells that his son is already inside the monster's belly, lashing out at the rescuers for their late arrival and grandstanding. The captive, full of grief, asks if the knights can even imagine the pain his son endured. Shaking with emotion, the captive challenges the knights, asking if they understand the helplessness of a parent watching their child dragged away by a monster. Pellet is visibly troubled, his face etched with concern by the captive's agonizing grief and raw anger over his tragically lost son. The older captive weeps, consumed by utter despair and anguish, wondering what he can possibly say to his deceased son if he is the only one saved now. The older captive furiously rejects their help, yelling he doesn't need to be saved and would rather die than accept help from them, as other captives echo his outrage, while a knight suggests a retreat to their captain. A concerned knight, witnessing the emotional impact of the captive's bitter words, asks his captain if he is all right after the intense confrontation. Burn, the orange-haired man, collapses to the ground, overcome with sorrow and deep regret, repeatedly apologizing, feeling the profound weight of the unfolding tragedy. One of the knights explains that the recent monster rampages in the Lokman Mountains and their unprecedented village attacks made timely detection impossible for the Special Task Force. Burn states he cooperated with the Inquisition to defeat Gromhart, and now plans to order the task force commander to clear mountain monsters and help with village damage recovery. Burn bows deeply, telling the captives he will personally apologize on behalf of the Empire for their immense suffering and the tragic events they endured. Pellet stares, wide-eyed and visibly shocked, at Burn's unexpected and profound apology to the grieving commoners, a display he did not anticipate. A captive asks the orange-haired man to reveal his identity, puzzled by his sincere apology and his authoritative yet humble tone. Burn reveals himself as Gilashan Yellow de Balt, the Empire's third prince, shocking the captives who knew him only as a drunken troublemaker from rumors. The captives, witnessing the prince's personal appearance and apology, begin to believe the Empire truly cares for them, realizing the monster is the real villain. A fellow captive gently places a hand on the grieving man's shoulder, sharing his own losses from the attack and a past famine to offer comfort and solidarity. The older captive, finding a flicker of hope, decides to live on, vowing to gather stories and share them with his loved ones when they reunite in the afterlife. The voice encourages others to find their inner strength and continue living despite the immense pain and suffering they have endured. Gilashan thinks to himself that defeating Gromheart offers little tangible benefit or reward in terms of loot or strategic advantage for them. Gilashan reflects that Gromheart, a monster seeking unknown humans, is typically just a setup for future events, implying a larger, hidden scheme. Gilashan realizes the true goal was the power zone within the evil eye, a consumable that boosts strength, making the rescue of people merely a secondary objective. Gilashan's inner thoughts swirl with deep confusion and existential angst, questioning the very nature of this world and his own identity within it. The older captive, humbled by the prince's empathy, tells Gilashan to lift his head, remarking that he feels uniquely human and relatable among other nobles. The older captive asks Gilashan for one favor, humbly requesting him to remember his deceased son's name, Wilt, a humble commoner. Tears streaming down his face, the older captive clasps his hands, desperately begging the prince to grant his heartfelt, final wish. Gilashan reassures the older captive, gently touching his arm, promising he will not forget his son's name or his profound pain and grief. Gilashan solemnly promises, his words carrying the weight of his royal position and personal commitment, that he will indeed remember. The blonde captain sternly questions Byrne about the third prince running and abandoning elite rebel troops, expressing his disbelief and lack of understanding. The blonde captain observes that this was Byrne's first personal encounter with the prince, implying it changed his perspective, to which Byrne silently acknowledges the truth. Byrne reflects that the third prince he personally met was entirely different from the negative, troublesome rumors he had heard about him. The blonde captain cuts off Byrne, dismissing rumors of the prince becoming emperor as nonsense that drives him crazy, ordering Byrne to focus solely on refugee management. The blonde captain declares he will personally go to check the situation himself, implying a critical need for his direct involvement. Gilashan addresses his knight, Karals, questioning why he was hiding when his duty was to guard him closely, to which Karals humbly admits his failure. Gilashan's, the Highness, sat as Karls, the blonde knight, revealed surprising news from the lieutenant, a blurk sound punctuating the moment. Gilashan's, the Highness, looking flustered, asked Karls if something was wrong, to which Karls quickly replied, no, nothing at all. Karls, seeing Gilashan's enveloped in GG and KWA purple energy, expressed his relief, then directly questioned if the Highness intended to go to Orax. Gilashan's declared his unwavering intention to change, stating unequivocally that to achieve this transformation, he must journey to Orax. The Highness, Gilashan's, began to outline a potential obstacle, saying if the Marquis tried to stop him, Karls finished his thought, asking if he blocks you. With a fierce issue egg aura, Gilashan's looked Karls in the eye and stated he would cut down anyone who tried to stop him and still go. Karls' expression shifted to one of disbelief and shock as he internally questioned what insane nonsense the Highness, Gilashan's, was saying. With a jovial sound of exasperation, Karls sighed. Ha! Telling the Highness, Gilashan's, that his joke was going too far. Karls respectfully reminded Gilashan's, the Highness, that he was a 9-star swordmaster, one of only 3 in the Empire, implying the Highness's threat was misplaced. Enveloped in KKLLK and youth energy, Karls looked down, challenging the Highness, Gilashan's, directly, and asking how he exactly intended to cut him down. With a firm phallic tone, Karls apologized but stated he had no intention of letting the Highness go to Orax, planning instead to return him to the palace. A message declared that Gilashan's of House Baron challenged Elon of House Reut, now identified as Karls, to a noble duel. Gilashan's, the Highness, and Karls, along with other armored figures, stood at a wooden table, their expressions serious as the confrontation escalated. Gilashan's provocatively asked Karls if he was scared to lose to a beginner, to which Karls responded, ha, and acknowledged the successful provocation with surprise. Under the table, the legs of Gilashan's and Karls stood, highlighting their tense face-off and the underlying power dynamic of their conversation. Elon of House Reut, known as Karls, had accepted the challenge to a duel. A cheerful chibi character thanked readers, encouraging them to visit for more exciting series and continued adventures. Standing outside with Karls and another knight, Gilashan's, the Highness, was asked about the rules for the impending duel. Karls observed Gilashan's confident demeanor, noting it was the voice of a man with no doubt he would win, believing he couldn't lose. Addressing Karls, also known as Marquis Reut, Gilashan's laid out the duel rules: pure swordsmanship, no magic, no armor, and instant loss if a sword was dropped, which Karls accepted. A system notification popped up, announcing a sudden, quote, noble duel event had occurred, urging Gilashan's to defeat his rival, Elon Reut, and claim victory. Onlookers were shocked, exclaiming that the third prince, Gilashan's, was dueling their captain, the swordmaster Carl's, thinking he must be insane and had lost his mind. A stern, dark-haired man remarked that this was the outcome of someone being pampered, calling it a disgrace, just like him. The stern, dark-haired man continued to observe, his expression remaining one of strong disapproval and judgment towards the unfolding events. Marquis Shuai, speaking to Gilashans on the dueling ground, expressed surprise at his preparation, yet noted the rules weren't particularly advantageous for him. Marquis Froy stated his adjutant, Sir Bern Pelowit, believed Gilashans had changed, but Marquis Froy himself did not easily believe in such transformation. Gilashans, listening intently, heard Marquis Ross' words about the whispers, understanding that his past actions defined his current reputation. Carls observed Gilashans, noting his desire to shed the Scoundrel Prince title, but remained completely unconvinced by his supposed change. Carls suggested that even if Gilashans had truly changed, it wouldn't alter public perception. Gilashans, with Bopok frustration, asked how Carls knew his background, then impatiently asked if he was always so long-winded. Gilashans, with sharp eyes, bluntly asked if Carls talked his way into becoming a swordmaster, leaving Carls looking surprised. The elixir of strength filled him with power. Its effects were immediate and dramatic. His capabilities soared. Now he was ready for anything. The temporary boost made him formidable beyond expectation, and he felt truly invincible. The warrior considered his newfound strength, wondering if it was too much like cheating. People's perceptions would change in a blink. He thought about how this sudden power might alter his reputation and the way others viewed him. His gloved hand tightened on the sword with a swift sound. The warrior's thoughts continued. They might say the Scoundrel Prince was just playing the fool all along. He pondered the implications of his increased strength, how it could reveal a hidden side and change the narrative about his past actions forever. The young man declared he wouldn't settle things with words and challenged the Marquis to come at him. His resolve was firm as he prepared for the inevitable confrontation, ready to prove his strength in action rather than debate further. The young man stood poised, telling his opponent that their chatter suggested they questioned his abilities. He urged them to stop talking and find out for themselves if he had what it took. His stance was confident and ready for the impending duel. The Marquis, a bearded man, expressed his shock at the young man's words, saying he never thought he would hear such from him after ruining his son Kars's future with reckless antics. The Marquis questioned his right to speak of having what it takes. The Marquis continued his indignant speech, accusing the young man of spouting nonsense about taking his son Kars into hostile lands. The tension between them escalated with each word, building towards an inevitable and violent clash between them. The Marquis, his eyes narrowed with a heavy sound, finished his accusation, claiming the young man said it was better than dragging Kars around to drink himself sick. The Marquis was clearly enraged. His powerful aura suggested a fierce confrontation was imminent now. The Marquis pulled his sword from its sheath with a swift motion, preparing for the duel. The metallic sound of the blade being drawn echoed through the air, a clear sign that the time for talking was over and action was about to begin now. The Marquis declared that if the young man was not worthy of being Kars' lord, he wouldn't return in one piece, let alone go to Orax. The two men faced each other, their swords drawn, ready for the battle to decide Kars' future. The young man observed the Marquis walking slowly towards him, finding it terrifying. He wondered, with a sniffle, if he had provoked him too much, realizing the gravity of the situation and the formidable opponent he faced now. The young man quickly refocused, stating firmly, "No, I need to concentrate solely on this fight." He pushed aside his doubts, readying his mind and body for the intense battle against the Marquis that was now upon them. He had to win. The young man recoiled with a gasp, thinking he was almost done for. Despite the Marquis seeming slow at first, he realized the speed was deceptive as he struggled to keep up with the powerful and precise attacks of the Marquis. The young man, despite being overwhelmed, could clearly see the Marquis' weak points. His heightened strength allowed him to perceive vulnerabilities, even in the midst of the intense and blinding speed of the Marquis' assault and strikes. The young man lamented that despite seeing the weak points, he was too busy defending to land a single hit. The Marquis' relentless offense kept him on the defensive, preventing any counterattacks or opportunities to strike back. Someone remarked with astonishment that the Marquis, their captain, was overwhelming the young man with just his swings, acknowledging the young man was better than expected for blocking the Marquis' sword, even if the captain was going easy. Marquis sneered with a strike, asking if this paltry display was all the young man had to back up his big talk, his words cutting and sharp as he continued his relentless attacks, pushing the young man to his limits. The young man knew he had to hit the Marquis' weak points, but his attacks were too relentless, preventing any chance to strike. He struggled under the ceaseless onslaught, trying to find an opening in the fierce battle. The young man noted that the Marquis' combos just kept coming, preventing him from activating his nomadic swift sword style, a technique based on swiftness and resentment, passed down from a nomadic tribe of warriors. The young man was at a loss, wondering what he should do next. The overwhelming pressure of the Marquis' attack left him with little room to strategize or respond effectively in the escalating duel that consumed them. The intense pressure mounted as the Marquis continued his powerful assault, forcing the young man to brace himself against the heavy impact of each relentless blow with a powerful swing sound. An unseen presence or thought asked the young man what he was thinking about His Highness, perhaps a voice of encouragement or a self-reflection, urging him to focus and regain his composure in the fight. The Marquis pressed his attack, asking the young man if he had forgotten who he was, standing, reinforcing his dominance and the significance of their battle as the clash intensified between the two formidable opponents. The Marquis completed his thought by saying, "Before," as he lunged forward with a powerful strike emphasizing his challenge, and the young man's subordinate position in the fierce exchange of blows between them both. The young man cried out, "Ack!" as he was struck a direct hit, leaving him reeling from the powerful blow. His defenses were momentarily breached by the Marquis' overwhelming assault that sent pain through him. The young man, struggling to rise, urged himself he had to get up now, his body aching from the Marquis' strike, but his will unbroken, determined to continue the fight despite the severe pain and difficulty. The young man cried, "Ah, no!" as he collapsed to one knee, unable to fully recover from the last powerful attack. The Marquis stood over him, a clear victor in that exchange, leaving the young man vulnerable and defeated. The Marquis looked down at the kneeling young man with an intense expression, as a swift sound indicated his movement perhaps to deliver a final blow or to step away, allowing the fight to conclude. Kars rushed with a frantic sound to the young man's side, asking if he was all right, his concern evident for His Highness, who was now kneeling on the ground after the intense battle with the Marquis. The young man questioned Kars why the Marquis just walked away, wondering if he had lost and if that wasn't his chance to finish him off. The unexpected departure left him confused and uncertain about the outcome. Kars asked the young man, His Highness, if he was truly sure he could continue the duel. The young man had just been struck down, and Kars showed deep concern for his lord's well-being. The young man, with crimson eyes glowing, declared with unwavering resolve that he was going to win this fight. His determination was palpable, a swift resolve overcoming his previous doubts. The Marquis looked on with wide, surprised eyes, clearly astonished by the young man's sudden surge of renewed determination. He appeared taken aback by the unexpected shift in his demeanor. A deep shadow fell across the Marquis's eyes as his expression darkened, a hint of concern or contemplation appearing on his face as he watched the young man. Kars placed a reassuring hand on His Highness's shoulder, stating he understood and believed in him. He then urged the young man not to lose, offering a final encouraging word before the fight resumed. The young man softly uttered Kars's name as Kars's hand gripped his armored arm, a silent exchange passing between them, reinforcing their bond before the battle's resumption. Kars reached out to His Highness again, saying he had just one more word to share before the young man returned to the fight, a swift touch upon his armor. Kars advised His Highness about the Marquis's Trafalgar style, explaining its chain-like nature and superior speed to the nomadic sword. He stressed the need to break his combos early to avoid being overwhelmed. Kars continued his advice, telling His Highness to focus solely on the Marquis during the duel. He then reminded him that the most important thing was not to get hurt, despite his earlier promise of just one word. The young man thanked Kars with a confident smile, assuring him that he would return with a win, his resolve now fully cemented as he prepared to face the Marquis again. The young man acknowledged Kars was right, knowing he needed to break the Marquis's combos before they could even begin. He stood resolute, focusing on the upcoming strategy. The young man realized his system showed strike points like a cheat code, highlighting weak spots, but he recalled how the Marquis's terrifying speed made him only defend, the reality of the fight throwing him off. Kars, flanked by two armored guards, watched the ongoing duel with a look of deep concern, his eyes fixed on His Highness, hoping for his success. Kars, gripping his hand tightly, shouted for His Highness to go and not to lose. The crowd behind him erupted in a chorus of cheers, urging the young man on. The crowd, including Kars, passionately cheered for His Highness, urging him to show them what he was made of and assuring him he could do it with a united voice. The crowd continued to roar, shouting encouragement to His Highness that he could do it and not to lose, as he walked determinedly back towards the Marquis. The young man felt a blush creep onto his face, murmuring that they really did not have to do all this cheering for him, finding the attention quite embarrassing. The young man gripped his sword firmly, thinking to himself that he might not truly understand this new world he found himself in. He continued his thought, realizing that despite his unfamiliarity, in another important way, he knew this world better than anyone else could. Marquis stood ready, holding his sword, and calmly asked the young man if he was prepared to continue their duel. The young man had a sudden realization, thinking that he had forgotten the most basic and fundamental thing he needed for this fight. The young man grinned confidently, stating he had been ready from the start, just nervous. He decided to stick to his game plan, showing renewed resolve. The young man stood facing the Marquis, a brief moment of quiet before the impending clash, his thoughts focused on the fight ahead. The Marquis regarded His Highness, acknowledging his impressive ability to still bluff. He recognized this as a unique aspect of the hidden secret of nomadic swordplay. The two warriors clashed, their forms a blur of motion as their swords met with furious energy, beginning the next phase of their intense duel. The young man's nomadic swift sword style could only evolve by perfectly countering the Marquis' Trafalgar style, requiring precise and swift defensive maneuvers. The condition for skill evolution was explained as landing 3 consecutive hits to the same vital point, which in game terms meant stacking 3 precise hits. The young man declared that everything he had done until now was mere preparation for facing Eldon, signaling that the real fight was finally about to begin. The young man, with a determined expression, calmly informed the Marquis that he would initiate the attack this time, taking the offensive. Observers noted the young man's vivid crimson eye, a symbol of the Balt imperial bloodline. They remarked that even Prince Gilrosian was never seen with such intense eyes. The young man's furious assault continued, his sword clashing violently with the Marquis' blade, creating a blinding flash of light as their duel intensified. The Marquis skillfully parried the attack, his swift movement leaving a trail of blue light as he dodged the young man's relentless offensive with precision. The Marquis observed the young man's improved technique, noting it was better than before, but still, he mused that it was not even close to truly challenging him. The young man was thrown back, gasping in disbelief as he looked up at the Marquis, realizing the overwhelming power facing him, thinking, a monster. Even after being struck, the young man knelt, gripping his sword firmly, knowing he could handle this now compared to merely defending earlier. The young man's feet dug into the ground, a powerful stance indicating his unwavering resolve as he prepared for the next exchange. The young man plunged forward with incredible speed, almost flying past the Marquis, demonstrating a surprising agility during the intense confrontation. The young man spotted a vital hit point on the Marquis and unleashed a precise strike, aiming for the weak spot with fierce determination. The young man's crimson eyes glowed with fierce determination, reflecting his sharpened focus and resolve as he pressed his advantage in the duel. A brilliant red flash confirmed the young man's successful strike on the Marquis' arm, resulting in 1 stack achieved towards his skill evolution, a satisfying hit. The Marquis pondered the young man's unexpected strike, questioning if such precision was mere luck or true skill, feeling the need to confirm his opponent's abilities. The Marquis was momentarily stunned as the young man, with growing confidence, landed another hit, confirming the second stack towards his skill evolution, just 1 more to go. Marquis pressed his attack, forcing the young man into a defensive stance where he realized he couldn't counter, highlighting the Marquis' tactical advantage. Blood splattered violently as the Marquis' eyes widened in shock, an unexpected turn in the duel catching him completely off guard. The young man perfectly parried a devastating blow, a move even skilled swordsmen would find difficult, leaving the Marquis stunned as he noticed a faint, unsettling smile on the young man's face. A soft ping indicated a new system notification, signaling a significant development in the young man's ongoing battle against the Marquis. The Marquis stared, his expression a mixture of surprise and concern, as red shards seemed to burst around him, symbolizing a sudden shift in the duel. Kars and a concerned woman stood side by side, their monochrome forms suggesting a memory or a shared moment of apprehension from the past. A younger version of the young man, looking frightened, covered his mouth as a large, armored hand gently rested on his head, offering silent comfort. The young man's youthful face held a confused expression, surrounded by blurry figures, hinting at a past moment of uncertainty and revelation. The young man and the Marquis continued their fierce sword clash, their forms blurred in monochrome as the battle raged on, each determined to win. A notification flashed, revealing the young man had fulfilled the hidden condition for nomadic swordplay, which unsealed and evolved into the S-rank skill Heiwu Sword Art, impressing observers. The young man's eyes glowed crimson as he absorbed the information that Heiwu Sword Art, a rare Eastern-style martial art, was an ultra-lucky acquisition. A new system prompt appeared, presenting the young man with 3 additional effects to choose from for his newly acquired S-rank Heiwu Sword Art, a crucial decision. The young man considered flower shift grafting, a skill to redirect an opponent's strength, realizing he could use Eldenroyd's monstrous power against him, even as his own strength domain was fading. A strategic thought crossed the young man's mind, realizing that even a powerful swordmaster could be disarmed if they neglected to use magic. The young man noted the strength domain's effect was ending soon and realized Elon Roit wasn't serious yet, meaning he needed to provoke Elon to fully utilize his strength. The young man's crimson eyes burned with renewed resolve, deciding he needed to force Elon Roit to take their duel seriously. A clear system notification appeared, announcing the resumption of the game, signaling the continuation of the intense duel between the young man and Elon Roit. The young man unleashed Heiwu Sword Art Form 1, a powerful blue aura encompassing his attack as he charged, hitting Elon Roit with significant force. The young man continued his furious assault, unleashing a powerful Heiwu Sword Art Form 1, his crimson eyes burning with resolve as he charged at Elon Roit with significant force. Gilroshan and another knight observed Elon Roit's prince's sword, noting it was faster than before, requiring serious strength to swing so quickly, wondering if he was hiding his true skill. They were in disbelief. Gilroshan, looking worried, thought to himself that at this rate the captain might actually lose this duel, a possibility that seemed impossible just moments before. The blonde knight angrily confronted Gilroshan, yelling about what kind of bullshit that was, questioning if he called himself a Special Forces knight when the captain hadn't even gotten to his proper stance yet. The blonde knight continued to assert that Elon Roit was a swordmaster, a pillar of the empire, as Gilroshan tried to calm him down, acknowledging that he understood. Elon Roit found the young man's skill fascinating, noting how he understood his fighting style and had even mastered Eastern swordsmanship, which remarkably countered his own Trafalgar technique. Elon Roit, acknowledging the young man's surprising abilities, admitted that Sir Pellet was right, confirming that the young man's true nature defied all the rumors. Elon Roit attacked, stating the young man couldn't take Calc to Orax. The young man thought Elon Roit was still too composed, realizing his strength domain would end soon, needing to provoke Elon Roit further. The young man grimly concluded he had no choice but to resort to dirty tactics, deciding to provoke Elon Roit by striking at his emotional weak spot. The young man sarcastically asked Elon Roit if he was finally taking a stance, questioning if the mere thought of taking Calci away from him was truly that unpleasant. Elon Roit firmly responded, explaining that Calci was like a brother to him and he would never intentionally put him in any danger. The young man countered, asserting that he was more special to Calci than Elon Roit, who merely fathered him, challenging why Elon Roit opposed Calci going to Orax with him. The young man pressed further, questioning Elon Roit's right to act as Calci's father at this specific moment, aiming to provoke a strong reaction. The young man observed Elon Roit's furious reaction, thinking that it was not the response he had expected from the composed Marquis. The young man recalled that in the game, Elon Roit was a principled knight who would only kill players if they attacked him or mentioned Calci with low affinity. The young man confirmed his hypothesis, realizing that even as a prince, the only thing that truly rattled Elon Roit emotionally was anything concerning Calci. The young man puzzled over Elon Roit's delayed fury, theorizing that Elon Roit should have charged by now, unless his affinity with Gilshen was already at its maximum. Elon Roit, taking a deep breath, remarked to the young man that he talked as if he knew everything, his expression darkening with a simmering anger. Elon Roit, glowing with dark energy, declared he was willing to let the young man leave unharmed while Calci watched, but if he lost, he wouldn't leave alive, Your Highness. A furious inner thought, or outburst from Elon Roit, reflecting his outrage at the young man's provocations. The young man escalated, reminding Elon Roit that even though this was a duel, he was a prince, challenging whether the Emperor would truly let this situation slide. The young man thought that Gilroshan was just acting, while simultaneously wondering if he had gone too far with his provocation, questioning if it was still within the duel's rules. Elon Roit retorted sharply, questioning the young man's claim about the Emperor's care, pointing out that if he truly cared, the young man wouldn't have been kidnapped initially. Elon Roit admitted that the young man's swordplay was tricky, a grudging acknowledgement of his opponent's skill in the intense duel. The young man unleashed a powerful attack, but Elon Roit dismissed it, stating that mere fast swordplay meant nothing to him without true experience. Elon Roit, with a determined expression, declared that a vast gulf in experience separated him from the young man, implying his inevitable victory. A solemn message appeared, marking what seemed to be a decisive end to the duel, bidding farewell to the third prince. Elon Roit lunged forward in a decisive attack, then surprisingly threw his sword, causing a powerful impact on the ground. Gilroshan and other knights watched in shock, questioning why the commander, Elon Roit, had thrown his sword in the middle of their intense duel. A voice stammered, preparing to announce the victor of the duel, the outcome now clearly decided. Elon Roy reflected on Gilashan's cunning, realizing the young man's smile and every move had been meticulously calculated, even when caught from behind, showing his strategic mind. Gilashan stood confidently under the night sky, his expression smug as he outwardly declared his victory to no one in particular, confirming his success in the duel. Gilashan extended a hand towards Elon Roy, who remained on the ground, a lone leaf fallen between them, signifying the duel's conclusion and Gilashan's triumph. Gilashan questioned why his opponent wouldn't acknowledge the duel's outcome, reminding him that all his earlier provocations were merely tactics to elicit a strong response during their fight. Elon Roy grimaced, acknowledging Sir Pellet was right about Gilashan's complete transformation, realizing the third prince had changed so much that even cars seemed different now. Gilashan stood over Elon Roy, who was on one knee, appearing to wait as other figures stood by, uncertain about the sudden turn of events after the duel's surprising end. Elon Roy, head of House Roy, formally acknowledged his defeat, stating it was a great honor to have fought His Highness and learned from the duel, expressing his gratitude. A clear system notification appeared, announcing the unexpected event of the noble duel had officially concluded, marking the end of the intense confrontation. Another system notification confirmed the player's success, displaying a triumphant message that he had successfully defeated his opponent Elon Roy in the duel. Two shocked knights protested, exclaiming that something was wrong with the duel's outcome, and urging their commander to redo it immediately, struggling to accept the result. A voice argued that banning magic was an unreasonable initial condition, rendering the duel invalid, while an unseen person emphasized their strong disagreement with the terms. A close-up showed a hand firmly gripping the hilt of a sword, reflecting the tension and readiness in the aftermath of the surprising duel. Elon Roy, standing with his back to the audience, explained that the duel was fair, as His Highness proposed the terms, and he agreed, dropping his sword while the prince kept his. Elon Roy, with a stern and piercing gaze, challenged his knights, questioning if they wished to refuse their commander's decision, and if that was their definition of a true knight. The three knights looked hesitant and uncomfortable, muttering that their commander's accusation was not right, struggling to justify their previous objections. Gilashan thought that this was the perfect moment, admitting he was slightly intimidated earlier, and that without conditions, Elon Roy could have easily crushed his sword with bare hands. Gilashan realized that Elon Roy had seemingly acknowledged him as Kar's lord, signifying a significant shift in their relationship and the duel's outcome. Gilashan mused about Elon Roy's comment on their overwhelming difference in experience, conceding that he wasn't wrong, having lost count of his in-game deaths at Elon Roy's hands. Gilashan turned his back and walked away, a bright light surrounding him, symbolizing the completion of a major event or transition after the duel. A red-haired woman joyfully embraced Gilashan, praising him as her splendid disciple, while a knight anxiously inquired about His Highness's injuries, checking if he was all right. The red-haired woman declared this victory brought her closer to becoming Tower Master, while Gilashan playfully warned Kars that their master might accidentally hurt him. Elon Roy, with a rare fatherly smile, requested a private word with His Highness, while Gilashan mentally noted he was unaccustomed to such warm expressions from Elon Roy. Elon Roy informed Gilashan that Lord Vern Pelias was bringing the Front Order members from the forest, their safety guaranteed in his name. He acknowledged Gilashan's victory, promising not to interfere, but stated he had 3 questions, to which Gilashan asked what they were. Elon Roy, reminding Gilashan he was still the Knight Commander, questioned His Highness's intentions in Orax, emphasizing it was enemy territory despite the current ceasefire. Elon Roy recalled his younger days, explaining that he knew Orax firsthand because he had conducted numerous covert operations there, implying deep knowledge. Elon Roy, in his armor, surveyed a city, stating clearly that Orax was an incredibly dangerous place, underscoring the risks of going there. Gilashan confidently told the Marquis he knew enough about Orax, surprising Elon Roy, who questioned if His Highness truly knew the dangerous territory. Gilashan described Orax as a chaotic, maze-like city, a stark contrast to Kershon, where black markets thrived with illicit items, crawling with thieves and drowned in disorder. A close-up revealed a group of ominous figures, their faces obscured, adding to the unsettling and dangerous atmosphere described about Orax. Gilashan, with a young boy, Kars, smiling nearby, countered that Orax was still a place where people lived, though Elon Roy noted they were not imperial royalty. A powerful female figure, leader of the Revolutionary Army, radiated purple energy, a name so forbidden that merely mentioning it was a serious crime in the Empire. Karl reassured Gilashan not to worry about his safety, stating that everything had been meticulously planned for their journey. Gilashan clarified that he was not going to join the Revolutionary Army and would go alone if that were the case, as Orax held a singular opportunity. A chibi character urged continued reading. Carls, intrigued, realized the singular opportunity Gilishans mentioned was a chance so great that even a prince with nothing could overturn everything. Gilishans, with a sly smile, confirmed Carl's understanding, asking if he meant the dragon's nest, hinting at the true purpose of their journey. Gilishans revealed his intention to control a dragon, explaining that Orax, or the dead dragon's graveyard, was a maze where dragons abandoned their unhatched eggs and other races were forbidden. Gilishans continued, explaining that if one completed a special quest inside Orax, they could literally command a dragon, an incredible power. Carls reacted with a shocked gasp, muttering, "My God, the dragon's nest," as the gravity of Gilishans' plan settled upon him. Carls, looking directly at Gilishans, urged him to think rationally about this dangerous venture. Carls added that controlling a dragon was not only incredibly unlikely, but also far too dangerous for Gilishans. Gilishans, looking away, countered Carl's caution, asking if defeating the Marquis was not also highly unlikely, reaffirming his chosen path to Orax and the Dragon's Nest. Gilishans, with a confident smile, told Carls not to worry and to ask his second question, ready to address any further concerns. Gilishans, with intense, piercing red eyes, contemplated Carl's unasked question about how to report this to His Majesty the Emperor. He realized he couldn't tell the truth, acknowledging he hadn't even considered what to say to his father, Bereshan Kalo de Valth. The powerful emperor, Bereshan Kalo de Valth, Gilishans' father, was revealed as a terrifying ruler and an unparalleled genius, capable of consuming realms, truly the ultimate madman. Carls, looking surprised, listened as Gilishans suggested reporting that he had become a, quote, prophet to His Majesty, questioning if Gilishans was serious. A system box explained prophet syndrome as a rare condition, granting precognitive abilities after extreme psychological shock, but leading to physical and mental deterioration and eventual demise. Carls, frustrated, refused to answer Gilishans' prophet claim, while Gilishans admitted he'd been thinking about using this excuse, as his secret knowledge fit the prophet narrative perfectly. Gilishans added that to further convince the emperor, Carls should also report that he went to steal Tears of Dawn, an imperial artifact held by the Revolutionary Army's leader. Gilishans stated the emperor would recognize the artifact, as he was the kind of man who would wage war to reclaim a lost ring, confident this would suffice. Gilishans predicted his father would likely dismiss him as a wayward child and leave him alone for now, then asked Carls for his final question. Carls, looking pained, requested Gilishans consider leaving tomorrow instead, suggesting he rest, eat, and receive treatment first, hinting this was about cars. Gilishans, seemingly deep in thought, simply stated, "All right," accepting Carls' request. The scene shifted to Gilishans, Carls, and others, gathered around a campfire, possibly resting, as Carls suggested. Gilishans smiled, seemingly content. Carls smiled back at Gilishans, a sense of camaraderie growing between them and other knights present. A new character with brown hair looked at Gilishans with a smile, while another man laughed nearby. The brown-haired man with a delighted smile declared he would call Gilishans his elder brother, solidifying a new bond. A visual effect of swirling lines appeared, indicating a passage of time or a transition in the narrative. Carls, looking surprised and a bit confused, observed Gilishans, who seemed distressed or uncomfortable, wondering what was up with him. The young man, possibly Carl's disciple, expressed nervousness, while a woman with red hair also wondered if this was the right path. Another knight confirmed preparations were complete. A blinding blue light with a deep hum emanated as Gilishans and his party commenced their journey, possibly through a portal, setting off towards Orax. "We've arrived," third prince, confirming Gilishans' journey to Orax was complete. A hooded figure beside Gilishans confirmed their destination, declaring, "This is Orax, the fabled dead dragon's graveyard." Gilishans, the red-haired woman, and Cars, the knight, looked upon the grand city of Orax, Gilishans muttering Orax, in awe at their perilous destination. A soft chime sounded as a system notification appeared, announcing that the, quote, escape from danger quest had been completed, marking a significant milestone. Gilishans reflected on the completed quest, realizing it was the one he received upon arriving in this world, and wondered what unexpected rewards awaited him. The system displayed the quest completion rewards, including gold coins, a beginner traveler set, an inventory spell, and a D-rank fate card draw ticket. Gilishans reacted with surprise at the mention of a guaranteed draw ticket, recognizing its potential value despite the D-rank limitation. Gilishans mused that a D-rank reward was generous given the scenario's early stage, and anticipated his second card draw once he reached level 10. He acknowledged the uncertainty of the card he would receive, yet understood that even one extra D-rank card would provide him with a crucial advantage. Gilishans considered that unwanted cards could be used for experience. Then a, quote, Archmage card appeared, followed by a command to, quote, arrest everyone on the spot. Is there anything else you would like me to read? Gilishans, the red-haired woman, and Kars reacted with shock and confusion, uttering, huh, upon encountering what appeared to be a, quote, Titan special unit. Kars addressed Gilishans respectfully, while Gilishans reminded Kars and the red-haired woman of his earlier instructions regarding their arrival. Gilishans firmly reiterated his warning not to act recklessly upon their arrival, emphasizing the importance of caution in their current location. He stressed that absolutely no combat was permitted, as they were outside Imperial territory, where no authority could protect them from grave consequences. Their journey continued through a vast, mountainous landscape, the sheer scale of the terrain hinting at the challenges ahead in Orax. From high above, they observed the sprawling city of Orax, known as the lawless den of rebels crying out for revolution, their perilous destination. Gilishans found himself restrained by a rope, feeling tired of being tied, as he contemplated his current predicament amongst the rebel forces. He acknowledged that choosing not to resist was a wise decision, a calculated move in his strategic plan within the city of Orax. A voice scoffed at the notion of the third prince becoming Alam's apostle, dismissing it as a foolish lie, while Gilishans was visibly restrained. A hooded figure, scoffing, just what I'd expect from a rogue prince, held Gilishans, who internally questioned, this guy, seriously? At the sudden turn of events, the hooded man Bamilo addressed Gilishans, cautioning him not to deceive the high priest if he truly was not Alam's apostle, his words a grim warning. Gilishans' piercing red eyes narrowed, reflecting his unwavering resolve despite the treacherous situation he found himself in with Bamilo. Gilishans furiously denounced Bamilo as a treacherous wretch, demanding how he could betray them as Bamilo ordered the suppression of the red-haired woman. The red-haired woman, enraged by Bamilo's betrayal, screamed, "You ungrateful bastard DDDDD," in a furious outburst, her anger palpable. A wide vista showed the city of Orax under a bright sky, its buildings sparkling, a stark contrast to the unfolding confrontation below. A hand gently closed a book on a polished surface, with a soft rustling sound, indicating a moment of quiet contemplation or study. A woman with striking purple eyes peered intently over her glasses, a look of intense focus or perhaps suspicion on her face. The woman with purple eyes welcomed Gilishans to Orax, acknowledging him as Prince Gilishans of the Empire, setting the tone for their interaction. Gilishans, still bound, sarcastically questioned if this violent reception was Aolam's teaching, asking how he was repaid for sparing their men and bringing them unharmed. The woman with purple eyes subtly smiled, contemplating Gilishans' actions, thinking, so this is how you want to play. Meanwhile, Gilishans internally mused that Bamilo, a skilled assassin, must have already reported his movements regarding the Marquis by now. Gilishans, still bound, calculated his captor's intentions, believing they had ample time to plot his demise now that he was restrained, thinking, it's more than enough time to make a plan to get rid of me. The character profile introduced the Archbishop, the Ilam High Church leader allied with the Revolutionary Army, a meticulous commander with a prosthetic arm, driven by intense hatred for the Empire for her past injury. The Archbishop, driven by an intense, burning hatred for the Empire that cost her an arm, embodied the revolutionary spirit as a staunch opponent of imperial rule. Gilishans' piercing red eyes narrowed with focused intensity, revealing his unwavering resolve despite the perilous and uncertain situation he currently faced. The Archbishop's knowing smile made Gilishans suspect her true intention was to exploit him against the Empire, interpreting her silence as a calculated pressure for him to reveal the truth. Gilishans, still bound, calmly confessed to the Archbishop, admitting to impersonating her god, observing her reaction to his audacious revelation from his seated position. The Archbishop addressed the Gilishans respectfully, as his royal title was spoken, while he internally considered that any confession he made at this point would not alter their current predicament. The Archbishop understood the Empire's internal affairs minister's panic regarding Gilishans' ties to their revolutionary cause, admitting she too would fear discovery of such a connection. The Archbishop's smile widened as she found Gilishans' knowledge of imperial secrets fascinating, indicating a deeper understanding of his situation and the political landscape. Gilishans, still bound, smirked and stated he was not fascinated, mentioning that her actions had forced him to duel Marquis Elon Royd, adding that as an archbishop, she should comprehend the challenge of facing a swordmaster. The Archbishop, showing her prosthetic arm, acknowledged her own victory in a previous combat, suggesting that her experience might differ from the sensation of facing a swordmaster. The Archbishop's purple eye narrowed with a cold, stern expression, accompanied by a sharp sound, as she continued to assess Gilishans' words intently. Gilishan's expression hardened, asserting that there was no need for fear and declaring it was now time for him to strategically reveal his cards, initiating his own calculated move. Gilishans boldly challenged the archbishop to kill him, promising she would regret it, claiming that without his aid, her people would be utterly incapable of averting an impending calamity. Gilishans warned the archbishop that in approximately 10 days, an unstoppable catastrophe would devastate Orax, resulting in widespread loss of life and plunging the entire city into profound grief. The archbishop questioned Gilishans, asking what kind of catastrophe he was referring to, specifically wondering if he was predicting an earthquake in Orax. The archbishop pointed to the grand cathedral and great church, asserting that most phenomena could be protected against by the divine power of gods, who could directly manifest there. Gilishans, still bound, countered that divine power isn't omnipotent, and suggested that the first logical step to address the impending catastrophe would be to immediately untie him. A hand gently closed the book, as a voice, likely the archbishop's, consented to a reasonable and proper order of actions, seemingly agreeing to Gilishans's earlier point. The archbishop, standing firmly, commanded her guards to immediately take Prince Gilishans away, ordering him to be escorted directly to the underground prison. The archbishop glanced back at the still-bound Gilishans as she walked away, her footsteps echoing, leaving him to face the consequences of her command. Two solemn priests, dressed in their religious attire, advanced with purposeful strides, their footsteps resounding, presumably moving to carry out the archbishop's orders regarding Gilishans. Gilishans reacted with profound shock and confusion, uttering, quote, "What?" as he realized the events unfolding were completely contrary to his carefully laid plans and expectations. The heavy prison bars groaned open with a loud creak, revealing the bleak interior of Gilishan's new, unwelcoming confines. Kars and the red-haired woman, both clearly concerned, rushed to Gilishans, urgently asking if he was all right and if his discussion with the archbishop had concluded favorably. Gilishans offered a subtle, almost unreadable smile, reassuring Kars and the red-haired woman that he was unharmed despite his predicament. Gilishans stood calmly before the prison bars, while Kars and the red-haired woman watched, a resounding clang signaling the closure of his new cell. Gilishans chuckled softly, an unexpected reaction that left Kars and the red-haired woman completely dumbfounded by his seemingly cheerful demeanor in their dire situation. Kars informed Gilishans that High Priest Bamelo had visited him in the prison, surprisingly bringing food, as they continued their conversation in the confines of the cell. The red-haired woman sat reflecting, as a companion gave her a rough explanation of the current situation in Orax. A blonde man asked the red-haired woman, "Let me guess. He told you about the power struggles in Orax?" And she responded with surprise, "How did you know?" Kars explained that the Kashiri's Grand Cathedral and the Titan Special Unit were keeping the Aeolum Church in check, making the red-haired woman wonder how. Kars looked distressed, revealing they insisted someone like Her Highness must be exiled or executed. The narration explained that there were 6 armed factions within the revolutionary forces. The factions included the Aeolum Church, where they were marked by a tiger sigil, and its opponent, the Kashiri's Church, symbolized by a fox. Further factions were detailed as the Border Guard, the City Guard, the First Legion as reserves, and finally, the Titan Special Unit, commanded by the Supreme Leader. These massive rebel forces had distinct roles and scale, but their Supreme Leader was currently absent, like an emperor to an empire. Kars sat contemplating they must have been divided on how to deal with him, then asked his master, "Kars, did Bamelo say anything else? Was that all?" Her master, the red-haired woman, hesitated about revealing the rest of Bamelo's message, saying, "I wasn't going to tell you the rest because I thought it might upset your highness." Gilishan, seemingly startled, exclaimed, "Master," causing the red-haired woman to clarify she didn't mean she agreed, but simply didn't know how to respond. Gilishan panicked, asking Her Highness what was wrong and if she was okay, but the red-haired woman told Gilishan to pull himself together and vowed to talk to that Bamelo brat later. The red-haired woman confirmed she was fine and not laughing for that reason, then added that it was about the message Bamelo gave her. The red-haired woman instructed someone to, "Master, please lift your foot for a moment," as a glowing symbol appeared beneath it with a soft thud. The startling message from Bamelo was for her to escape through the underground. Kars and Gilishan looked down into the hole, with Kars noting, doesn't look very deep. Gilishan excitedly suggested they head down, but then asked why the red-haired woman, his master, was looking at him like that. "Is there anything else you would like me to read?" Kars asked Gilishan what was with him, dismissing his concern about unexpected danger by saying it's just a hole, and prepared to explain more. Suddenly, Kars shrieked, covered in spiders, declaring his absolute hatred for them. The red-haired woman and Gilishan stared at Kars, realizing his unexpected fear, as she wondered, wait, did Kars always have this kind of setting? The red-haired woman, in a chibi form, angrily questioned why Gillishan was looking at her. The red-haired woman indignantly asked if her old master, who followed them, really had to be the first to jump in, then sighed, noting this was different from the game. Ugh, whatever, let's just get moving, the red-haired woman impatiently declared, while Kars and Gillishan tried to caution her not to step there as a faint crumbling sound began. Crates began crashing down from above towards two robed figures, creating a loud impact sound as a warning cry of, "Ah, look out, Sir Cillian," was heard. The red-haired woman, Giloshan, and Kars landed in a heap below, with Kars on the bottom, as Kars angrily demanded, "Move aside." High Priest Bamelo, the robed man, affirmed to Archbishop Hendel that just as he said, it showed up quickly. Kars, the red-haired woman, and Giloshan confronted Bamelo and Archbishop Hendel, with Kars wondering if this roundabout way was necessary. Archbishop Hendel, with a knowing smile, cryptically asked Kars, "You already know the reason, don't you?" Kars admitted he would be lying if he said he didn't know, reflecting that Bamelo wouldn't risk everything just for his escape, despite any fondness. Kars concluded that another faction must have been watching, requiring a performance regarding Archbishop Hendel's fate. The Archbishop smiles, placing trust in the young man, Prince Gillishan. A quest appeared, involving the Revolutionary Army's internal conflict, surprising them as it typically triggered differently. Prince Gillishan questioned the Archbishop, asking why she trusts him when he is an enemy agent who even impersonated her god. Prince Gillishan, confused, heard from the older man that the Grand Temple of Aeolum had also sensed the calamity he mentioned earlier. Archbishop Hendel revealed that someone within their own revolutionary army was involved in the conspiracy, pointing out the gravity of the betrayal. A striking image of a rat pierced by a sword underscored the Archbishop's grim revelation, signaling that a traitor lurked among them. The red-haired woman, intrigued, asked Prince Gillishan how he acquired such sensitive information about the internal conspiracy. Archbishop Hendel, with an unnerving smile, replied that it was obvious, making someone think she was quite scary. Prince Gillishan countered, stating their god only grants prophecies, not prevention, and concluded the Archbishop's information was thus incomplete. The older man confirmed they knew the calamity targets Oryx's children, and that the beast responsible was one of their own revolutionaries. Archbishop Hendel explained their attempts to find the culprit were hampered, because the traitor, being one of them, tracked their every move, cornering them. Prince Gillishan realized the true depth of the betrayal, understanding why they were outmaneuvered, finding the hidden machinations quite interesting. Prince Gillishan, acknowledging their trust, agreed to reciprocate by sharing his own knowledge with them. Prince Gillishan disclosed that in about 10 days, the children would be targeted during the ceremony at Kashiri's Grand Cathedral. The horrifying plan involved a Kashiri's cathedral priest using the Rite of the Crimson Wind to slaughter Oryx's young men, aiming to revive his faith. The older man observed that all the details aligned perfectly, confirming the Kashiri's order was behind the sinister plot, surprising Archbishop Hendel. The armored young man asked Prince Gillishan if his shocking information was real or merely his imagination, seeking reassurance. Prince Gillishan questioned the sanity of killing comrades to expand one's faction, conveying his utter disbelief at such a brutal strategy. The older man explained that after the coming-of-age ceremony, Oryx children choose professions, but the Kashiri's faith exclusively accepts women or castrated men as clergy. The red-haired woman realized the Kashiri's order saw no use for boys because their faith was female only, viewing them as resources for rival factions. The group reacted with disbelief, calling the Kashiri's order insane for targeting fellow Revolutionary Army members, regardless of their faction. The older man agreed, acknowledging the Kashiri's order's place in the Revolutionary Army, but asserting they had undeniably crossed an unforgivable line. Archbishop Hendel, impressed by Prince Gillishan's knowledge, admitted that breaking him out of prison seemed to be the right decision after all. Archbishop Hendel Frey, as the leader of the Grand Temple of Aeolum, prepared to make a formal request. Archbishop Hendel Frey humbly asked Prince Gillishan for his help, begging him to prevent the children from being sacrificed, giving him a quest. The quest Savior of the Suns appeared, tasking Prince Gillishan with stopping the plot at Kashir's Grand Cathedral to protect the children. Prince Gillishan readily agreed to help, emphasizing it was about saving children, but paused, addressing the Archbishop. Prince Gillishan playfully recalled how painful being tied up was, then suggested an extra 50 gold coins if the mission went smoothly, surprising Archbishop Hendel. Prince Gillishan demanded the 50 gold coins, arguing it was for saving children, as the red-haired woman and armored young man reacted to his audacity. Prince Gillishan successfully negotiated an increased reward for the Savior of the Sun's quest, earning him the title of novice negotiator, and 50 extra gold coins. The bustling city of Orax stretched out, its ancient buildings bathed in the light, a silent witness to the unfolding conspiracy. A hooded figure observed a young man and a fallen knight on the quiet street as the city loomed in the background. The scene was set for an unfolding situation. The hooded figure, now identified as the High Priest, commended Sir Cillian and Lady Sue, wishing them well. Before announcing his immediate departure from the scene, a young man called out, "Wait a minute, High Priest," as the High Priest paused, a surprised, sound escaping the young man's lips, halting the departure. The High Priest with a furrowed brow asked the young man, now revealed as Your Highness, "What is it?" "What's wrong, Your Highness?" awaiting an answer. The young man Bamlo, with a cunning smile, retorted, "Oh, come on, we both know what this is about, don't we?" accusing the High Priest of feigning ignorance, finding it almost hurtful. The High Priest panicked inwardly about being shaken down by Prince Bamlo. Bamlo, chuckling, asked why the High Priest was rushing, stating their conversation was far from over. The High Priest, startled by Bamlo's sudden proximity, thought with surprise, "When did he? He's fast," completely unprepared for the prince's quick movements. Prince Bamlo pressed the High Priest. "You remembered, didn't you? So why pretend not to?" But the High Priest awkwardly deflected, mumbling about being busy. Prince Bamlo continued, recounting how a certain High Priest had promised him anything he wanted if he safely left Imperial territory, sworn in God Aeolam's name. Prince Bamlo slyly finished his reminder. "I could ask for anything I wanted, so who could that have been, I wonder?" hinting at the High Priest's past vow. The High Priest remarked on Bamlo's debt-collecting prowess, jokingly asking if he was in the loan business. Bamlo chuckled, feigning embarrassment from the praise. Lady Sue confessed feeling uneasy, like they were doing something shady, but Sir Cillian assured her they were simply making sure Bamlo didn't run away. The High Priest reminded Bamlo about things impossible to obtain, but Bamlo reassured him his request was not that kind, hinting at its peculiar nature. With a distinct thud, the High Priest's boot landed firmly, and he questioned Bamlo. "Then what kind is it?" eager for the specifics of the strange demand. Prince Bamlo startlingly declared, "I want you to get me Warlockhas's eyeball," leaving the High Priest utterly bewildered and questioning what was just said. WarlockhasEyball. Bamlo happily spelled it out, confidently asserting it was obtainable, and therefore not divine in nature, much to the High Priest's dismay. The High Priest silently wondered if Bamlo understood the gravity, then asked him directly if he knew whose it was. Bamlo revealed it belonged to the Revolutionary Army leader. Warlockhas's eyeball, identified as round-framed glasses from a demon, was an accessory that surprisingly allowed the wearer to easily track the trajectory of projectiles. Bamlo, oblivious to the peril, casually instructed the High Priest to retrieve the item from the commander's study, reassuring him the commander was away and no harm would befall him. The High Priest, flustered, reminded Bamlo he was part of the Revolutionary Army and couldn't steal the Supreme Commander's belongings, as strangers approached, commenting they hadn't seen their faces. An aggressive man demanded a toll, telling the young lord and the old man to hand over everything if they wanted to live, clicking his tongue in warning. Prince Bamlo, amused by being called an old man, smirked, noting the thugs truly picked the wrong day, as he wasn't known for patience with outsiders. The aggressive thug yelled at the High Priest, "Hey, old man, are your ears clogged? I said hand over everything, come on now," growing impatient with the situation. The High Priest's face contorted with intense anger and frustration, his jaw clenched as he felt the mounting pressure from the thug's demands. The story concluded, expressing gratitude for reading and inviting viewers to visit the website for more exciting series. A powerful purple aura enveloped the High Priest, his expression shifting to one of grim determination, ready to unleash his hidden strength against the thugs. With a quick, decisive stroke sound, the High Priest drew his sword from its scabbard, the blade glinting as he prepared for combat. A sharp clink sound filled the air as Bamlo watched the High Priest draw his sword, a moment of tension before the confrontation began. Bamlo turned to the High Priest, politely yet firmly stating, "High Priest, please leave this to me and go ahead," intending to handle the situation himself. Bamlo angrily declared, "I'm fine, so just step aside," his voice rising. "This isn't the time to be standing around, not when it's for the children of Orax." The High Priest looked on, perplexed and surprised, silently wondering what was going on as Prince Bamlo seemed determined to handle the thugs himself, despite the High Priest's readiness to fight. Prince Bamlo insisted he could handle the thugs, telling the High Priest not to worry and to go ahead, reminding him to meet again once he had found the promised glasses of Aeolam. Prince Bamlo, with a cunning smile, reminded the High Priest that this important task of retrieving Warlockhas's eyeball was also for the children. The High Priest stood bewildered, Realizing this was not just a joke as he had initially thought, questioning what this unexpected turn of events truly meant, the aggressive thugs yelled at the high priest to stop, demanding to know where the old man thought he was going, as Prince Bamlo smirked, amused by the confrontation. The thugs, identifying themselves as the back alley trio, laughed, finding it ridiculous that anyone could get away from them without losing anything, attributing it to insane luck. One of the thugs with red hair intensified his glare, repeatedly asking, "Isn't that right?" to his companions, asserting their dominance with a forceful, Prince Bamlo, observing the thugs, looked confused, wondering who these guys were, what they were supposed to be, and if there were really NPCs, like the back alley trio. Prince Bamlo turned to the thugs, smugly telling them they were lucky he had just spared their lives, leaving one thug bewildered and questioning what he was saying. The red-haired thug feigned agreement, acknowledging they should be grateful, then mockingly demanded Prince Bamlo offer up what the old man left behind too, to which his companion responded with a firm, As the thug repeated his demand, Sir Cillian and Lady Sue arrived on the scene, with Sir Cillian urgently asking Prince Bamlo if he was all right. Sir Cillian quickly apologized to Prince Bamlo, then asked him if he wanted him to blow away these unknown thugs, though he inwardly acknowledged they were not pushovers either. Thompson, the red-haired thug, angrily declared his name and warned them he was about to get really mad, showing defiance to the newly arrived knight and lady. Thompson, losing patience, commanded his men with a resounding duk sound, telling them to forget it and get him, as the thugs charged forward, ready to attack Sir Cillian. Sir Cillian, with a powerful quang sound, swiftly moved into action, assuring Prince Bamlo he would take care of them, and unleashing his bear hunt attack. With a sharp quashik sound, Sir Cillian effortlessly defeated one thug, causing Prince Bamlo to lament the overkill, wondering about his own lost experience points. As Sir Cillian engaged the remaining thug, who grunted in pain with an erg, Prince Bamlo urgently commanded Sir Cillian to stop with a crisp, sockwick sound. Sir Cillian paused, and Prince Bamlo then declared he wanted to fight the remaining thug himself, much to Sir Cillian's surprise. With a siwuk sound, Sir Cillian lowered his sword and firmly, yet respectfully, told Prince Bamlo that he could not allow him to fight, insisting he stand down. Sir Cillian stood resolutely beside Prince Bamlo, stating that as Prince Bamlo's knight, it was his duty to protect him in such situations. Sir Cillian reflected somberly on his past failures, admitting he hadn't done much until now, recalling how he couldn't even prevent the kidnapping and had been no help since their reunion. Sir Cillian's resolve hardened as he inwardly declared his desire to be more than just someone who followed behind Prince Bamlo. Prince Bamlo silently pondered how to explain to Sir Cillian his need to gain experience points to level up, a concept difficult to convey. Sir Cillian continued to assert his loyalty, expressing his desire to walk beside Prince Bamlo as his sword and as a true support, repeating his command to stand down. As Sir Cillian finished speaking, he realized with a wheen sound that the thugs had vanished, leaving Prince Bamlo wondering where they had gone. The thugs fled in terror, exclaiming about what kind of monsters Sir Cillian and Lady Sui were, grunting in fear from the powerful purple aura surrounding the high priest. A vibrant red and orange fiery aura, emitted by Lady Sui, erupted behind the fleeing thugs, engulfing them and pushing them further away with its intense heat. A mysterious woman cleared her throat with a polite ahem, signifying her presence and readiness to intervene in the chaotic scene. Lady Sui, her eyes glowing red and a subtle smile on her face, questioned the fleeing thugs where they thought they were going after starting the fight. Lady Sui, surrounded by her menacing fiery aura, warned the terrified thugs that one more step would result in them being roasted, causing them to cower in fear and express their terror. Sir Cillian hesitantly conceded Commander Sui's point about Prince Bamlo's need for self-protection, acknowledging her reasoning but still holding reservations about letting him face danger. Sir Cillian questioned Commander Sui's logic, asserting that he and Commander Sui were always by Gilioshan's side, ready to do everything in their power to protect him. Commander Sui acknowledged Sir Cillian's loyalty but sternly reminded him they were only human, emphasizing the perilous path Gilioshan faced and the risk of even they themselves being injured or worse. Commander Sui pressed her point, asking what would happen if Gilioshan couldn't protect himself, asserting they could still support him, but he needed to learn for future challenges. Commander Sui asserted Gilioshan likely understood the need to fight, suggesting that allowing him to learn and grow through battle was also a profound expression of loyalty. Sir Cillian pondered Commander Sui's words, slowly realizing the deeper meaning of her perspective on loyalty as a new understanding dawned upon him. Sir Cillian concluded that he hadn't been thinking clearly, accepting Commander Sui's wisdom about Gilioshan's need to fight for himself. With a thud, the two thugs lay defeated on the ground, pleading for mercy as the system announced that Prince Bamlo had subdued both a back alley rookie thug and a swindler. Sir Cillian and Lady Sui praised Prince Bamlo for his excellent work, acknowledging that he had done well in the confrontation with the thugs. Prince Bamlo internally reflected that while the thugs weren't Elon Royt's level, fighting two of them simultaneously wasn't easy, cementing his resolve to get stronger quickly for survival. Sir Cillian turned to Prince Bamlo, asking for instructions on what to do with the two subdued thugs now that the fight was over. The red-haired thug, utterly defeated, desperately pleaded with Prince Bamlo and his companions for their lives, promising to live as if they were already dead. Prince Bamlo observed the defeated thugs, realizing he couldn't simply release them, as he knew of a common pattern where such rookies would return for revenge with reinforcements. Prince Bamlo, with a cunning smile, directly addressed the back alley trio, pointing out that Sir Cillian had called him Your Highness, subtly hinting at his royal status. With a soft tang, Prince Bamlo revealed a simple wooden stick, dropping it onto the ground before the terrified thugs. Prince Bamlo declared himself the Prince of the Back Alley by his royal father's command, asserting his authority over them and questioning if they expected kindness from royalty, shocking the thug. With a sharp whack sound, Prince Bamlo struck one of the thugs, eliciting a loud gya of pain from him as he fell, bleeding. Sir Cillian, taken aback, questioned Prince Bamlo, asking if such extreme cruelty was truly necessary given the situation. Prince Bamlo, surprised by his companion's reaction, explained that his taste for sadism skill created dramatic bleeding effects and flashy movements with minimal actual damage. But it seemed the thug fainted from the sight of his own blood. Prince Bamlo used his skill again with a TTAK sound, inflicting the status ailment fear upon the second back alley rookie swindler, who now trembled. The terrified swindler begged for mercy, promising to do anything Prince Bamlo commanded if only his life was spared, to which Prince Bamlo mused on his offer. With a poke-pock sound, Prince Bamlo confirmed the thug's name as Thompson, who frantically confirmed it, hoping for leniency. Prince Bamlo approved of Thompson's spirit, then asserted that Thompson would now work for him, bewildering Thompson, who questioned if it meant serving the prince of the back alley. Prince Bamlo clarified that Thompson wouldn't be serving as the back alley prince, but rather as a guide for a specific destination, which left Thompson puzzled about where they were going. Prince Bamlo impatiently told Thompson that the destination was obviously the back alley, urging him to take the lead as they were short on time, and the other thug was merely unconscious. An advertisement featuring a pink-haired woman encouraged readers to join Magus Manga's team for various positions, ensuring all roles were paid. A cute chibi character thanked readers, encouraging them to visit the website for more exciting series and content. Prince Bamlo, Sir Cillian, Commander Sui, and Thompson walked down a narrow alleyway, moving deeper into the unknown urban landscape. Prince Bamlo munched on a sandwich with whoop-whoop sounds, complimenting its taste and casually asking Thompson where he had bought it from. Thompson proudly shared that his mother, a renowned cook in Araxis, had packed the delicious sandwich, as pick-pick sounds indicated Prince Bamlo's surprised reaction to this information. Prince Bamlo angrily reprimanded Thompson for acting like a thug despite having a mother who made him delicious bread, lamenting that he himself never had a mother to make him something similar. Thompson reacted with confusion to Prince Bamlo's outburst, prompting Sir Cillian to ask if Prince Bamlo had forgotten about Her Majesty the Empress, his mother. Thompson murmured that first it was the royal father, and then the Empress realizing the food was a cover, and the whole act was finally over, admitting that Prince Bamlo and his companions were a real handful. Thompson pointed to the path ahead, stating it was the entrance to the black market, and then hesitantly asked, "Sir, is it all right for him to head back now?" Prince Bamlo questioned Thompson's attempt to leave, clarifying that he hadn't asked Thompson to guide him because he already knew the way to the black market. Prince Bamlo smirked casually, remarking that entry into the black market required an invitation, suggesting Thompson's purpose was yet to be fulfilled. Prince Bamlo declared they would use new titles in the black market to ensure his identity as the Prince of the Back Alleys remained concealed, assigning Thompson as Sir Kars, as Your Majesty, and Sue as Master. Prince Bamlo impatiently asked Thompson what he was doing, urging him to lead the way with a casual KKATTAG motion while still holding the sandwich. Thompson nervously explained that only big shots could invite people into the black market, fearing he, a mere rookie, would be severely beaten if he brought someone along. Prince Bamlo asserted that the big three of the back alleys should be sufficient to enter, promising Thompson he wouldn't get hurt, and urging him to hurry and open the door. Thompson's hand nervously made a tock-tock sound as he gently knocked on the imposing black market door. Prince Bamlo questioned Thompson's weak grip, asking if he was eating properly, as Thompson nervously suggested they return another time since no one seemed to be there. Prince Bamlo's eyes glowed with an intense, resolve, indicating his unwavering determination to proceed. Prince Bamlo's hand clenched into a powerful fist with a firm KKUK sound, subtly conveying his resolve. Prince Bamlo struck Thompson, who fell back with a loud pong sound. Thompson stammered, fearing this action would bring significant trouble upon them. A voice from behind the door demanded to know who was there with a chuckthag sound, asking if they had a death wish. Thompson nervously identified himself as Thompson to the boss, who questioned his identity and then recalled him as the rookie. Thompson quickly confirmed and explained he had brought a guest. The powerful boss emerged from the black market entrance, radiating an intimidating aura with a SYAAA Kang sound, towering over the apprehensive Thompson. The boss berated Thompson for bringing a guest and for his poor knocking, deeming rookies a shame and demanding to know who trained him, while Thompson nervously tried to explain the situation. Prince Bamlo interjected calmly, advising the boss to attend to his customers instead of talking to the wrong person, and pointedly asked if he desired to make money. The boss's eyes narrowed subtly with a SSOG sound, his expression shifting from anger to a curious assessment of Prince Bamlo. Prince Bamlo, Sir Cillian, and Commander Sui stood confidently with a cordial sound emanating from them, indicating their firm readiness. The boss persisted in questioning Thompson about his training, calling him a lost cause. Then Prince Bamlo abruptly produced a pouch with a SSUG sound, revealing 30 gold coins. Prince Bamlo presented the pouch of 30 gold coins to the boss, inquiring if this amount was sufficient as an entrance fee for the black market. The boss's stern expression softened slightly, revealing a ho-ho amusement as he considered the unexpected offering. Prince Bamlo informed the boss that the 30 gold coins were his entire fortune, received as a reward upon arriving in Araxis, acknowledging it was not a huge sum in the black market, but a very large entrance fee. The boss cleared his throat, returning the money to Prince Bamlo, explaining that the black market did not accept entrance fees, only verifying if a customer was worth dealing with. Prince Bamlo remarked that he saved money and asked if he could enter. The boss laughed with an egg sound, assuring him he could indeed go in, sir. Prince Bamlo thought to himself that he had found a sucker, and then with a pwog sound, he asked the boss if Thompson could continue to be their guide. Prince Giloshan smirked, thinking he had clearly outmaneuvered them, securing his demands. Then, he coolly suggested that Thompson should accompany them as their guide for the mission, subtly asserting further control over the operation. Thompson reacted with confusion and nervousness when Prince Bamlo asked if he could remain their guide, stammering an incomplete reply as the towering boss stood behind him. The boss encouragingly placed a hand on Thompson's shoulder, asking him to guide their guest well, and Thompson, understanding his position, readily agreed to do his best for them. With the arrangements made, a voice, presumably the boss's, invited Prince Bamlo and his companions to enter the black market, signaling their entry into the hidden world. The group stepped into the black market, an imposing and shadowy place, as the boss welcomed them inside with a booming voice and a sense of powerful magic filled the air. Suli looked around with wide eyes, expressing her surprise at the vast and unexpected space of the black market that lay hidden beyond the seemingly ordinary entrance. Thompson nervously described the bustling black market as being like an anthill, correcting himself from calling Prince Bamlo my lord to my liege. Thompson, still uncertain of his role, hesitated and asked Prince Bamlo where he should guide them within the vast and unfamiliar black market. Prince Bamlo, with a knowing smirk, stated that since they were in the black market, they should obviously head for the, quote, upper floor, indicating his clear destination. Prince Bamlo declared they were heading up, but Thompson, a mere rookie, nervously confessed he didn't know the way to the upper floor. However, Prince Bamlo reassured him not to worry. Sui, now excitedly leading the way, urged Prince Bamlo to hurry and follow her, exclaiming that she knew the path and guiding them forward with enthusiasm. Sui confidently declared that she, as the master, would find the way, asserting that powerful magic was calling to her, guiding her deeper into the black market. Small, chibified Prince Bamlo explained that witches like Sui naturally become extremely excited and driven by the prospect of magic items. Sui sprinted ahead, entranced by the market's allure, while Prince Bamlo, Sir Cillian, and a hesitant Thompson followed her deeper into the bustling black market, filled with strange sights. Prince Bamlo and Sir Cillian, keeping pace with Sui, moved swiftly through the black market, eager to reach their destination and whatever magical item awaited them. An auctioneer proudly presented a terrifying twin-head ogre to the excited crowd, boasting about the rare and monstrous creature, eliciting gasps of astonishment. Sui, now apparently observing an aquatic section, pointed the way, urging her companions to follow her deeper into the black market through a strange, water-filled area. Sui quickly corrected herself, realizing she had chosen the wrong path, and redirected the group in the opposite direction through the mysterious underwater market. Sui, with an intense expression, pointed towards a specific location, confidently stating that she could detect a powerful and luxurious magical aura emanating from it. Prince Bamlo advised Sui to calm down, reminding her that their primary purpose in the black market was to acquire items to prevent an impending disaster, not just for magic items. The group stood before an ornate, closed door in the black market, with Sui seemingly kneeling, awaiting their next move as they prepared to enter. Sui, her earlier excitement fading, admitted that Prince Bamlo was right, acknowledging the true purpose of their visit to the black market was indeed to avert a disaster. Prince Bamlo slyly revealed that the items they sought for the disaster also included a magic item specifically for Sui, instantly reigniting her excitement and surprise. Prince Bamlo admitted he was bothered by Sui's previous outburst, thinking that despite her inherited maturity, she still acted like a young, impulsive person when it came to magic. Sui instantly declared they must go immediately, fearing someone else might claim her magic item, while Prince Bamlo internally questioned her priorities in such a critical situation. Prince Bamlo firmly told Sui not to be downcast, and instead to calm down, emphasizing the need for composure in their important mission. Sui's body began to glow with a powerful blue aura, a manifestation of her immense power, which surprised even the astute Prince Bamlo, observing her transformation. Sui, now visibly calmer and smiling, informed Prince Bamlo that she had regained her composure, assuring him she was ready to proceed as planned. A deep sigh or expression of awe could be heard, perhaps from Prince Bamlo, reacting to the powerful display of Sui's magic and her newfound calmness. Sir Cillian, his expression intensely serious, demanded Prince Bamlo to repeat something, indicating a critical moment or a new directive was about to be issued. Thompson's eyes glowed fiercely, his voice a low challenge as he uttered, "Tell me one more time." Intense power erupted around him, his form beginning to transform into a formidable armored figure, asserting his true might. A powerful individual's dark figure emerged from a mystical, swirling void of red and purple energy. The name Marquis Elon Lloyd appeared, seemingly connected to the mysterious figure, indicating a powerful presence. "I am sorry, but I am unable to see any video or screen. Please read the text to me, and I will repeat it back to you." Further promotional text was displayed across the screen. The formidable emperor, seated on his throne, commanded Sir Cillian to repeat the information about Prince Bamlo's journey to reclaim the Tears of Dawn. Sir Cillian, kneeling before the emperor, explained that Prince Bamlo had indeed gone to the rebel capital to retrieve the sacred Tears of Dawn. The emperor smirked, finding it amusing that Prince Bamlo's journey was portrayed as a sacred duty, questioning Sir Cillian's phrasing. Sir Cillian insisted it was the truth, but then groaned in pain as he clarified Prince Bamlo acted solely for the Empire's treasures. The emperor, still seated high above, observed Sir Cillian's strained form as the knight struggled under an unseen pressure, groaning in discomfort. Sir Cillian endured the intense pressure, while the Lord Chamberlain looked on with concern as the Emperor continued his silent judgment from the throne. The Emperor pointed at Marquis Elon Lloyd, demanding if he had come merely to amuse him and insisting on an immediate answer. Marquis Elon Lloyd, despite the Emperor's stern gaze and demanding tone, maintained that he had already revealed all he knew. The Emperor considered Marquis Elon Lloyd's statement, observing the kneeling knight with a thoughtful expression. The Emperor then addressed Marquis Elon Lloyd, stating his understanding and granting permission for him to rise from his kneeling position. Marquis Elon Lloyd rose, as the Emperor clarified he wasn't doubting him, but rather considering the situation with Gilo-san. The Emperor expressed his view of Gilo-san as useless, finding it peculiar that such a person had contracted the prophet's disease. The Emperor inquired about the captain of the Royal Knights from the Lord Chamberlain, who confirmed the captain was on standby, prompting the Emperor to order his entry. The captain of the Royal Knights, Cedric Penn, entered the Grand Hall, approaching the throne and formally addressing the Emperor who had summoned him. The Emperor gazed upon the kneeling Cedric Penn, recognizing him as the Empire's Spear, a formidable warrior known for his loyalty. The Emperor mused further on Cedric Penn, identifying him as his loyal hunting dog, completely devoted and obedient to his commands. The Emperor pondered Cedric Penn's sudden appearance before ordering him to select stealth-skilled personnel and place the third prince under surveillance. The Emperor commanded Cedric Penn to bring Prince Bamlo to the Imperial Palace immediately if he recovered the Tears of Dawn, allowing force if he resisted. The Emperor added a final, chilling instruction. If Prince Bamlo died, Cedric Penn must retrieve his body, even if it meant losing limbs, to confirm the prophet's disease. Cedric Penn, with resolute determination, saluted and affirmed his loyalty, declaring his readiness to carry out the Emperor's brutal orders. The Lord Chamberlain recoiled in shock, finding the Emperor's orders about his own son insane, as the emperor concluded the meeting and dismissed everyone. Sir Cillian, walking away from the throne, resolved that he must somehow warn Prince Bamlo about the surveillance, despite the immense difficulty. Sir Cillian contemplated the challenge of delivering a message to Prince Bamlo, staring at the formidable palace doors before him. He further pondered how he could possibly get a message to Prince Bamlo, who was currently in the distant lands of Araxis. Finally, Prince Bamlo, Sui, Sir Cillian, and Thompson stepped through a grand doorway, entering a new, brightly lit and elegant space. Sui looked around the new opulent setting with wide-eyed wonder, letting out a soft woo in complete astonishment. Sui, still wide-eyed with wonder, commented that this exquisite market felt like a whole different world to her. Sui gently reminded Prince Bamlo to remain calm in this dazzling place, and he acknowledged her advice, agreeing to keep it in mind. Sir Cillian nearly called Prince Bamlo Your Highness, but Thompson quickly interrupted him, correcting him to use My Lord instead. Sir Cillian spotted a hooded figure, recognizing him as illegal, and was utterly confused and concerned about his presence and strange condition. Thompson advised Prince Bamlo that getting involved with illegal would be a hassle, suggesting they simply pretend not to have seen him. Thompson asked Prince Bamlo if the hooded figure was an acquaintance, to which Prince Bamlo reluctantly admitted it was a very uncomfortable relationship. Thompson nervously observed the hooded figure, noting with a hesitant tone that he was now approaching them. The hooded figure stepped closer, surprised to see the group and asking if they were all here. Gilo-san, the hooded figure, greeted them, but Prince Bamlo found his sudden friendliness unsettling and predicted it would be a pain. Prince Bamlo tried to dismiss Gilo-san, but Gilo-san tried to speak again, only to be quickly silenced by Sir Cillian. Sir Cillian explained to Gilo-san that Prince Bamlo was keeping his identity a secret, and calling him Lord Illegal would cause trouble, which Gilo-san understood. Gilo-san then proposed a deal, noting they could buy multiple items at a lower price and appealing to their past as comrades who faced death together. Prince Bamlo watched Gilo-san, suspecting he was acting out of character and must be plotting something mischievous. Prince Bamlo, still wary, offered a quiet, "See you around," hoping to subtly disengage from Gilo-san. Gilo-san, undeterred, confessed his true purpose for being there, stating he came to purchase the coveted Shield of Balance. Prince Bamlo realized Gilo-san was also after the Shield of Balance, an item beloved by players, as he too had come to acquire it. Gilo-san noted that this upper floor was the easiest place to obtain the Shield of Balance, but sensed Prince Bamlo had other motivations as well. Gilo-san then nervously admitted his true predicament, revealing he was short on money to buy the item. Prince Bamlo smirked at Gilo-san's financial woes, then mockingly pretended not to hear his confession, enjoying his discomfort. Gilo-san, his face flushing with embarrassment, mumbled quietly about his lack of money. Growing more desperate, Gilo-san loudly repeated that he was short on money. Prince Bamlo, observing Gilo-san's pleading, told him to stop acting cute and demanded to know the exact amount of money he currently possessed. Gilo-san seemed momentarily confused as Prince Bamlo sternly reiterated his demand to hand over all his money. Thompson and Sir Cillian acknowledged Prince Bamlo as the Prince of the Back Alleys, as he stated his intention to get Gilo-san, the Shield of Balance. Prince Bamlo transferred 92 gold coins, warning Gilo-san against scamming him, while Gilo-san promised to keep his word, hinting at something more. Gilo-san noticed Prince Bamlo's intense stare, quickly dismissing his actions as nothing significant. Prince Bamlo proposed a condition. Gilo-san must reveal his real identity once they leave, offering to return the money if he refused. Gilo-san agreed, then suddenly asked San if his master was also part of their group, leaving Prince Bamlo confused. All right. But San, the handshake sealed an agreement after Thompson's powerful display. The other party conceded cautiously. What is it now? One figure asked from above. Another inquired. San, wasn't your master part of your group too? Causing San to react with a huh in surprise as the grand hall buzzed with tension. Prince Bamlo pondered why Gilo-san sought the Shield of Balance at this exact moment, and if he was trying to stop the Ding Song event too, wondering if there was something more. Gilo-san asked Prince Bamlo if Shan's master was with him too, which confused Prince Bamlo, and Gilo-san wondered if Shan's master needed the key for himself. Gilo-san then instructed Prince Bamlo to find Shan's master and have him come to the counter, revealing he had another request. Prince Bamlo quietly instructed Gilo-san that when he sees Shan's master, he should ask him to use illusion magic to multiply these items. Prince Bamlo held glowing orbs in his hands, demonstrating the items he wanted Shan's master to multiply using illusion magic. Sir Cillian, surprised, questioned Prince Bamlo about when he could use inventory magic, to which Prince Bamlo replied he just kept trying, and it worked. Cersilian praised Prince Bamlo for working hard and expressed pride, noting that Lady N would also be pleased with his efforts. Prince Bamlo smirked, revealing that the inventory function was merely a convenience spell in this world, unlike Gilo-san, who as Prince of the Magic Empire only recently mastered it. Cersilian agreed to bring Shan's master over right away, ready to follow Prince Bamlo's instructions. A female shopkeeper greeted them, and Prince Bamlo immediately asked for the price of the Shield of Balance. The female shopkeeper smiled, stating that the Shield of Balance was currently selling for 120 gold. Prince Bamlo thought it was 110 gold a moment ago, and wondered why it was 10 gold more expensive than his friend told him, while Gilo-san also seemed puzzled. The female shopkeeper asked if it was their first time on the upper floor, explaining that prices for all magic items change dynamically based on the situation. Prince Bamlo feigned understanding, but inwardly smirked, noting that beginners on the upper floor usually get ripped off or fall for scam games, losing everything. Prince Bamlo mused that beginners either get ripped off or lured into scam games, losing everything, including their clothes, a warning he seemed to ignore. The female shopkeeper then politely asked Prince Bamlo if he would be purchasing the item. Prince Bamlo recalled the 3 items he had obtained: Swiftful, the bow, the Memory Stone bracelet, and the Shield of Balance, all from this place. Prince Bamlo thought he only had 30 gold, nowhere near the 99 gold needed for the shield, even with Urgel's money, resolving to scam them back. Prince Bamlo declared he would buy it, but paused, looking intently at the female shopkeeper with a subtle smirk, ready to initiate his plan. The female shopkeeper gasped, intrigued by Prince Bamlo's declaration and his confident demeanor, sensing a potential opportunity. The female shopkeeper revealed a golden key, stating they certainly did have what he was looking for, and she was about to recommend it to him. The female shopkeeper instructed Prince Bamlo to take the key and go to room 3 on this floor, encouraging him to win big and return for the shield. Prince Bamlo smirked, confident in his plan, knowing the female shopkeeper was falling right into his trap, but then felt a piercing gaze behind him. Prince Bamlo turned to find a furious Lady N glaring at him, accompanied by Kals and other companions, looking very displeased. Lady N furiously confronted Prince Bamlo, exclaiming she trusted him and followed him to Orax, only to find him gambling again, demanding if he had returned to his old ways. Gilo-san tried to calm Lady N, calling her master, and urged Kals to stop her, but Lady N retorted, "Even you, Kals," seeming to lose patience with everyone. Kals considered old Gilo-san's reaction a natural one, while Gilo-san tried to pull his hand away, asking if he would let him go. Lady N ordered Kals to grab Gilo-san, declaring she would string him up right now, indicating her extreme displeasure and readiness for action. Kals gently placed his hand on Lady N's shoulder, asking her to hear what Gilo-san had to say, surprising her with his intervention. Lady N was surprised and momentarily confused by Kal's suggestion, feeling an infuriating sense that even Kals would not listen to her. Prince Bamlo confidently declared he would win, just like he had previously defeated Gromhart and Marquise Elron Reut, reinforcing his certainty in his method. Kals and Lady N listened as Prince Bamlo explained his strategy was essential to obtain the necessary magic items and prevent the disaster of Orax. Prince Bamlo implored his companions, stating his method was the best option, asking them to trust him as they had before, promising he would change. Kals smiled, saying he would trust Prince Bamlo, while Lady N reluctantly agreed, acknowledging there was no other choice but to follow his lead. Prince Bamlo turned to Shan, asking why he seemed hesitant, wondering if he wanted his money back or no longer desired the shield, but Shan quickly denied anything was wrong. Prince Bamlo led the group, declaring that if everyone was ready, they would now proceed to the second floor to continue their endeavor. Lady N excitedly praised Prince Bamlo for winning again, calling him her true disciple, while Cersilian also expressed his amazement at Prince Bamlo's success. Hyran, the purple-haired woman, mused that she had lost another round, but calmly asserted her own luck and hinted at having more tricks to play. Hyran remarked on her rare consecutive losses, attributing it to Prince Bamlo's luck. Prince Bamlo observed that Hyran seemed unfazed despite losing 2 rounds deliberately, while his companions reacted with excitement. Prince Bamlo pondered Hyran's unusual composure and attire, wondering if she was not from this place or simply unconcerned by her losses, finding her difficult to read. Prince Bamlo, feeling confident in his luck, decided to propose something new, a mischievous smirk playing on his face. Hyran reacted with a sudden gasp, her expression shifting as she urgently interjected, calling for a halt to the game. Hyran fumed inwardly at Prince Bamlo for trying to raise the stakes, a move she herself intended, believing all gamblers were the same, and he was foolishly entering a trap. Hyran's eyes glowed with sinister intent as she declared her guaranteed victory, vowing to strip them of everything and enslave them forever. Sicilian and Lady In speculated on Hiran's odd behavior, wondering if she was sick or crying from loss, while Prince Bamlo dismissed it, calling her a viper incapable of tears. Cal suggested not raising stakes due to Hiran's apparent distress. Lady N agreed, thinking the dealer felt pressure, but Prince Bamlo warned everyone not to fall for her act, calling them naive fools. Hiran apologized, claiming she almost sneezed, while Sicilian and Lady N found her pitiful. Hiran then clarified her lack of enthusiasm was due to low stakes, assuring Prince Bamlo to raise them without worry, as it wasn't her money. Prince Bamlo expressed relief at Hiran's offer to raise the stakes, instructing her to name her desired amount, then formally greeted her, acknowledging her name, Hiran. Prince Bamlo, smirking confidently, stated that Hiran might not know him, but he always won. He gladly accepted to raise the stakes, inviting her to enjoy their, quote, delicious meal. This image serves as a promotional interlude for the series, directing readers to its origin, vortex scans. The minigame Dice of Death was introduced, a magical board game where players moved a token, claimed treasures, and returned to the start to win, but every tool was enchanted. The game allowed players to move both forward and backward, but the crucial catch was that the game would only conclude once a player successfully returned to their starting point. The male dealer explained a strategy. To prevent an opponent from claiming treasures, a player could circle back and try to reach the start point first. The male dealer concluded his explanation by noting that even with strategies, the outcome ultimately depended on the unpredictable roll of the dice. A blue die lay still on the board, its pips showing a particular result, ready for the next move in the Dice of Death game. Prince Bamlo internally recognized the game as a scam designed to fleece beginners. He noted the dice appeared fair, but had a consistent, manipulated sequence like 6-4-4-1-5. Prince Bamlo revealed the dice had a complicated, consistent pattern designed to favor the dealer. He had memorized the sequence from playing GFW and decided to bet magic items instead of just gold. Prince Bamlo questioned if betting items was allowed. The male dealer confirmed it was, inviting him to name anything he desired to bet. Prince Bamlo declared his bet, 2 shields of balance. Hiran, surprised by his high stakes, called him a high roller and excellent, then added a force bracelet and rapid shot bolt, prompting the dealer to speak. The male dealer mentally checked the rules, wondering if Hiran's request for 4 items was permissible, as he recalled the limit was 3. Hiran, with a mischievous wink, called out to the male dealer, asking him to wait a moment. She seemed to have a hidden agenda before continuing with the betting terms. Hiran leaned in closely to the male dealer, whispering urgently into his ear, her action suggesting a secret instruction or a warning away from the others. Hiran furiously scolded the male dealer, reminding him her job was to rob suckers and his was to handle any loss, asserting he should just do his job without messing with the setup, to which he meekly agreed. Hiran sternly ordered the male dealer to fetch Prince Bamlo's requested items, mark them, and post guards outside in case he tried to escape, threatening to sell him as a slave if he failed. The dealer nervously understood. Hiran, now composed and smirking, acknowledged the male dealer's politeness, informing Prince Bamlo that the requested items would be brought to them shortly. The scene briefly shifted to show Prince Bamlo's waiting companions, Sicilian, Cals, Lady N, and Shan, as they anticipated the start of the Dice of Death game. Hiran politely inquired about Prince Bamlo's available spare gold before starting the game, explaining it was a standard procedure, maintaining her deceptive, calm demeanor. Prince Bamlo confidently responded that he had gold, offering it, while Cals respectfully acknowledged his lord's command, indicating his readiness to assist with the game. A hand, likely Cals's, manifested a glowing bag of gold, preparing to present Prince Bamlo's wealth for the game. Prince Bamlo's group presented 2 large bags of gold to Hiran, asking if the amount was sufficient to proceed with the high-stakes game. 2 large bags filled with glittering gold coins sat prominently on the table, indicating a significant amount prepared for the wager. Hiran observed the 650 gold, noting it was more than expected, but internally mused that even if she swindled Prince Bamlo and enslaved him, it would still be minimal effort for her. Hiran clasped her hands, smiling outwardly as she declared the gold was more than enough, stating they would begin the game shortly, while inwardly anticipating Prince Bamlo's struggle. This image served as a promotional interlude for the series, briefly pausing the main narrative of the dice game. The male dealer asked Shan if he was ready to begin, to which Shan confirmed his readiness, prompting the dealer to hand over the dice for the first roll. Shan looked at the die, admitting it was his first time rolling and he wasn't very used to going first, as the male dealer indicated it was his turn. Shan, with a confident flourish, rolled the blue die across the board, declaring, "Here you go," as it spun onto the playing surface. Hiran thanked Shan before taking her turn, then confidently prepared to roll her red die, declaring, "Then let's begin," to officially start the game. Prince Bamlo intently observed the game, mentally predicting that the next dice roll in the manipulated sequence should result in a 2. The red die landed, showing a 4, which did not match Prince Bamlo's prediction of a 2, indicating a deviation from the expected manipulated sequence. Prince Bamlo observed Hiran's token, noting that if she rolled a 5 next turn, she'd get 50 gold, but predicted she wouldn't claim it yet, as a true dealer offers false hope. Prince Bamlo analyzed Hiran's strategy, realizing she'd let him win about 100 gold, including the first treasure, before swooping in to take the rest, preventing him from ending the game early. Hiran, flanked by guards, reflected on her deceptive gambling methods, explaining that cultivating, quote, joy, despair, and regret in her opponents was how she effectively trained suckers. A magical, glowing blue item appeared on the game board, indicating a new point of interest or a treasure to be claimed. Prince Bamlo, with a smirk, declared to Hiran that she was the real sucker in this game, not him, and challenged her, saying it was time to drop her deceptive facade. The blue die spun rapidly inside a translucent bubble on the game board, its unpredictable movement signaling the next turn's outcome. The blue die finally came to rest, prominently displaying a 6, a significant and potentially unexpected result for the current turn. Hiran reacted with a sharp gasp, her eyes wide and her expression shifting to one of profound shock and anger at the unexpected turn of events. Prince Bamlo looked surprised, perhaps feigning innocence, and asked Hiran if something was wrong, observing her sudden change in demeanor. Hiran awkwardly chuckled, denying anything was wrong, and weakly claiming the room was just a bit dry, attempting to cover her shock with a forced smile. The male dealer appears confused, causing Prince Bamlo to raise an eyebrow in question as the game continues. Hiran, feigning kindness, assures Shan not to fret, reminding him he can move backward and will claim the treasure on his next turn with a gentle movement. The red die and Hiran's piece landed on the 50 gold space with a tap, marking the treasure she was about to claim. Hiran's expression shifts to pure shock and anger, her eyes glowing intensely at the unexpected turn of events. Hiran faltered, trying to explain her shock, as Prince Bamlo's companions, Sir Cillian, Cowles, Lady Anne, and Shan, exchanged surprised glances at her reaction. A tapping sound accompanied her confusion. Prince Bamlo internally noted Hiran's confusion, realizing she rolled a 2 instead of the 5 needed, effectively giving him the gold she intended for herself, emphasizing the art of dice manipulation. Prince Bamlo revealed his trick was a gentle nudge, explaining how he subtly shifted the die from its original 4-5-1-4-2 pattern to land on the next 4, unseen by others. Prince Bamlo pondered why the male dealer didn't know about the phantom roll, recognizing him as the one who outsmarted Gromhart with unknown tricks. Prince Bamlo recalled the male dealer's promise to reveal his identity if given the shield, a crucial piece of their secret agreement. Prince Bamlo decided to focus on taming Hiran first, asserting his control over the game, as the blue die spun away from his hand. The shield of balance appeared on the board with a tap, prompting Hiran to exclaim, "Congratulations to Sir Cillian for his unexpected win," wondering if he just won it. Lady Anne excitedly praised Shan, asserting that rolling with his heart yielded success, while Sir Cillian smiled, pleased with the outcome. Prince Bamlo dismissively told the male dealer his shocked expression didn't suit him, urging him to take the shield, to which the dealer nervously agreed, clutching it. Hiran, eyes closed, offered a saccharine smile and congratulated Sir Cillian again, then smoothly asked if they should continue the game. Shan, with a confident smile and a knowing glance at the male dealer, declared his roll a perfect and lucky 4, commenting on how the dice felt right today, while gold coins shimmered. Prince Bamlo internally revealed he hadn't even needed to tamper with the last roll, planning only slight manipulations to maintain his amateur facade, guessing Hiran was starting to suspect his true skill. Prince Bamlo resolved to clean out the place, knowing that once they were halfway through the game, it would be too late for Hiran to back out, regardless of her suspicions. Hiran, observing the game, gleefully mused that today might be one of her lucky days, recalling past instances where she felt the same and made a killing, oblivious to Prince Bamlo's true intentions. The atmosphere of the game subtly shifted, with an unsettling, dark aura beginning to spread over the scene. A promotional message appeared, directing readers to access the series first for more of the story.